How's it? What's it like being a dog dad?
You know what they keep saying? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's definitely work, bro. It
Damn, bro.
definitely is work. Yeah, yeah,
But he's
yeah.
so cute
But
though, bro.
he is cute. He's cute, bro, dude. He's just like me. Like
Oh, for
he's
real?
he's legitimately like a mix of like me and Z's, I think.
Well, he's
Uh,
aesthetic. He's juicy.
He's on trend.
he's aesthetic. Yeah, I'm gonna start off on trend like next week. Right now, I just have him on like D-ball.
Shit.
He's doing well. He gained like 5 pounds over the past 2 weeks, so
Oh,
he's doing pretty well.
shit.
But I
That's
haven't
legit.
started him off on squats yet. He just the only squats he does is when he poops.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why
No,
the how?
he's so smart. Yeah,
Oh,
and
for
You
he's
got
real?
to
good.
get him. You got to get him skipping leg day early. You know that. He's got to
Yeah,
start
yeah,
off.
yeah,
Bro, how come you
yeah.
named him
What are you
Z's?
eating?
Tell us about this.
Um, I don't know, because I feel like Zyzz was just like a huge influence on my life.
The aesthetics
So
god,
like
the
yeah,
god of
the aesthetics god.
aesthetics.
But did you ever watch my podcast on why the entire world owes Zyzz? How the
Actually, I know
entire world owes Zyzz?
we're gonna actually find out because Marcus is a countryman of the boy Z's. We're
Okay.
gonna what is up?
Dude, if
What
you
is up?
hey, sit. If you haven't, you should watch. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
it's literally one of the best videos that I've ever made about how the entire world owes these, and I go into the depth of, because he has the image of this party guy who does a bunch of drugs and I guess just cared about getting laid or something like that. And then the other thing is like he was a skinny gamer guy who wanted to get jacked, and
Mm,
he got like pretty decently jacked for like any average guy. Um, but anyone that's in the space, they really hate on him. Like anyone that's in the
what?
bodybuilding space,
Really?
they hate Z's
Really?
because they think that yeah, they hate Z's because they think that he's like the guy that started off the whole like anybody can do drugs, and yeah, and he was the guy that did like all the raving party drugs and MDMA and
Yeah.
this that and all that kind of stuff. And he was just all about sex and blah blah blah. So everybody
Yeah.
thinks that he's just a goof.
Damn, bro.
But the truth is, hello, hello.
Welcome,
Yeah,
Marcus.
no,
How
but
you
the truth
doing?
is, he's the dude that I think like set everybody free in terms of inspiration and stuff, like all the kids and everyone else. So, I mean, you got to check out the podcast. Honestly, I explained he was a genius. Honestly, I mean, because he became bigger than anybody else in terms of bodybuilding or something when Instagram didn't exist, TikTok didn't exist, purely through Facebook, like barely a little bit of YouTube or something, like before any kind of marketing or anything else existed. That dude was a
Yeah.
legitimate genius.
Like bodybuilding.com forums and stuff like that. He kind of like got really popular from there. And I can remember back in the day, like when I was in university, like I'd just be out with my boys when I was like 18, 19, whatever, and we'd be in the clubs and whatnot. And we'd be flexing our biceps and talking about Z's, and other dudes would literally know what we were fucking talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah. Everybody knows who Zyzz is, dude. Except for the people in my building. I don't think anybody here
uh,
knows who Zyzz is. Yeah. I haven't had a who's Zyzz? Who's Zyzz? I haven't had a single dad Zyzz. I haven't had that yet.
yeah, bro. Um, happy birthday, Cam. How you doing out there?
Great, mate. Yeah, I got snowed in, like avalanche level snow, the last couple
Mm,
of days. So I've just been kind of like holding up. Vancouver got hit with the storm early, so we've been having fun. But I'm going out to country bar tonight, where like you
nice.
find the most girls in basically out in Vancouver. It's gonna be fun. Play some pool, maybe chat with some birds. Who knows? We'll see
Chat
how it
up
goes.
some birds, man. That's wholesome. Let me ask you
I love it.
something, bro. Like, how long are you gonna be in Vancouver for?
Another month, we're gonna bounce out back to the UK actually, so not for
Back
too
to
long.
oh shit. Oh, bro. I'm gonna be in the UK in March. Are you gonna be around at that point?
Yeah, March is the whole
Fuck,
month I'll be there. We'll meet
fuck
up.
yeah. Well, yeah, we'll hook up again. That's
We
gonna
should
be
go
a
to
lot of fun.
we should go down to what do you call it? Hammersmith, like we seem to every single time. Just end up in Hammersmith. We can hang
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. What is that? That fucking place. It's a great place for shopping, for one. Had a great music scene
And
too,
approaching. That's like the best
and
place for
approaching.
approaching, I think.
Oh
One
my
of the best
God,
places
bro.
for approaching in London. That's like
I
the easy. If people want a good place to approach, whatever the mall is called, but like the shopping center in Hammersmith, it's fucking massive. And you could
for
just walk
sure.
around like 4 floors in circles for ages, like picking up like the hottest like girls. Probably most of the hot girls in London end up there at some point, I would say. just for like it's like one of the better shopping venues.
Good times, brother. We're gonna bring Marcus in. What's up? How you doing over there, Marcus?
What's up, man? Going well, going well. How you been?
Doing good, bro. Doing good. We are just talking about one of your countrymen and Australian legend, Zyzz. Did you ever come across him?
Zyzz. Yeah,
Yeah.
bro. He grew up like fucking like 5 minutes from my place. Yeah, I never met him, but I had a lot of friends that knew him.
So let me ask you, was he, because from my perspective, right, I was a young boy just getting into like powerlifting and stuff like that at that time. And of course, lifting weights, trying to look better for girls and whatnot. And I was using forums like bodybuilding.com. And this dude was just a fucking phenomena, dude. And I was in a small town in England, like a small little town, and the dude's there, like knew about him. And like he's for whatever reason, he just got into the public consciousness. Like,
Hmm.
is there something that you guys kind of grasp that this random dude kind of like captured the public imagination? How do you guys regard this dude?
Yeah, it was a bit crazy, to be honest. Because he was pretty much my age, I think, as well. Um, so yeah, it was bizarre. I remember thinking at the time it was really fucking bizarre. And then even when he like passed away, I was surprised how like massive this was because to me, like back then, like social media wasn't even huge. Like right now, I think with social media, it would have been like, holy shit, this guy, it feels like he's everywhere. Back then, it was like bizarre. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. Yeah, it was weird. It was.
I think sometimes people just kind of capture, like, hit a moment, right? And they can just
Mm.
capture a truth. He's like a caricature of so much of the male essence, right? Like, there's self-improvement there. There's trying to attract women. Um, and there's also like just the like epic transformation he did from whatever, however much excess gear use that is. And Keaton, it'd be curious to know, like, what the fuck was he on? Like,
Mm.
this was, I mean, dude died from this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, as far
No,
as I
no,
know,
no. He died in the sauna because he was an idiot. He was like 22 years old or something, 21, 22 years old. And he did DNP, which is like a fat loss drug, which like elevates your body temperature. I think he did cocaine and he did DNP. Like he did what is that? Just heart rate increasing supplements and shit. And then he went to the sauna and overheated himself, and that's why he got cardiac arrest. And
yeah, I
afterwards
think he's on
on
a bunch
in
of
biopsy
diuretics, right?
autopsy or something. Yeah, exactly. So what I'm trying to say is he was an idiot. Like he was like a 20, 21, 22-year-old, like everybody's an idiot. That's what he was, and that's how he died. His mistake was like on a much greater level. And one of the things that I think you didn't bring up is that he was just a goof. He just liked to
For
have fun.
real? Yeah, he seemed
You
pretty
never
chill
watched
though.
any of his videos? Like, yeah,
I
he
watched,
had
bro.
a
I
he
watched
had his friends
everything, but
pushing
like, you're in a cart,
a
right?
shopping
Shopping
cart.
cart, and shit
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, and he's like fucking doing the
Yeah,
Z pose, and like that's a goof. You're being goofy, right? Like, and this guy's a
yeah,
fucking massive goof. I swear to God, he's just so funny.
yeah.
So that's the other thing that reminded me of him. Was like, fuck.
Your dog, your puppy over there, like he's wholesome. He's definitely captured my imagination. But like you're talking about how much work it is right now. Is this like, and what is it exactly? Like endlessly feeding the dude, like cleaning up after him? What?
Yeah, man. Well, he's a puppy, right? He's 6 months. So he doesn't know anything. He just like he peed inside the house twice yesterday. He's peed inside the house a bunch of times. I gotta take him out at least 4 times a day, sometimes 6 times, sometimes 7 times a day. He's not leash trained, so it's not like, first of all, I live on the ninth floor, so taking him up and down in itself is a bit of a struggle. On top of that, it's snowing outside. So
Mm.
you got to wear all kinds of clothes and everything to
God
go in and
damn.
out. And he doesn't like just walk. It's not just like getting outside, peeing, pooping, and coming back. He just sits down. He just won't walk. He's like, no, take the leash off of me. So it's a bit of a struggle doing all those different kinds of things. And then I just don't know when he's gonna poop or pee inside the house, and that. And it's just not just like like a paper cleaning or something. You got to like clean it off with vinegar so he doesn't be there again. It's like literally taking care of a kid, kinda, you know.
Yeah, but
Um,
this is a time in your
yeah.
life where you're retired, which I'm going to ask you about. I'm going to ask you about your retirement and playing video games and destroying kids. And that's going to be something. But I'm going to take this over to the OG, Brian Harris, Scotty, the Giga Chad. What's up, bro? How you doing?
Never call me that again. That's crazy. That's retarded. Man, now you just threw off the whole fucking thing, man. Now I don't even know what to say.
This is what I'm gonna ask you then. So we did a podcast last night, right, with Alex. Yeah. That was great. I mean, for me, it went on till fucking 4 a.m. So that was a lot. But he said some good shit. Anything that stands out for you, Ryan, from what we explored yesterday? Because there's definitely something that I want to talk about.
Is he
anything that
joining us
stood
today
out
or
real-
not?
Yeah, he's going to be from
I think it
next
was
month.
too.
Yeah, because we chatted to him yesterday, and he's like, "Well, I can't do the next day. It's kind of short notice, but he's going to be here from next month."
Yeah, man. I mean, I thought it went pretty well. I nothing really stood out to me that was like groundbreaking or anything like that. It was just cool to have him, exchanging some of his ideas and shit like that. I don't know. Nothing really stood out, man. What about you?
Yeah, me and my boys were talking about this earlier on today. So like, we're all dudes who are in self improvement, like real self improvement, right? One of them, Cam knows. He used to be in Andy's program. He's one of my real close friends, housemate. And he's deep in this world, right? And another one of my guys who's living with me for a bit. He's like an entrepreneur, he's a CEO, and he's very successful woman and all that too. In the podcast yesterday with Alex, we were talking to him about the reality of dating, right? The reality of women, men and women in today's world. And we're talking about some of the ideas in our space, and certainly around the internet, how there's a lot of toxicity, anger, negativity, and some of the ideas that if you're on the internet too much and you're just absorbing what you get in there, they're gonna like lead you to believe certain things about women. So one thing that he insisted is like, no, actually, well, if you look at the data, the average girl's body count is like 4 or 5, right? That's what he said. And I asked my friends about this, and these are guys from self improvement. They do a lot of approaching. And they're like, no, bro, like just cannot be the case. Cannot be the case.
Yeah, I don't think it can be.
That
Yeah,
seems a little
Wolf is
low.
too
Yeah,
low, I think.
that stood out. That actually, you're right. That stood out to me, man. Yeah, that
No.
seemed a little low to me.
Not girls you're gonna meet on like not the girls you're gonna date. Do you know what I mean? Like the girls who are gonna come off like the online and you're gonna meet on like nights out who are like a little bit more in the world, like a bit more in like the night, especially if you're doing stuff like nightlife game and stuff like that. You just know that's gonna be a lot higher on average, you'd imagine, than 5.
Yeah. So we talked about this.
I think it's somewhere in between what Alex said and somewhere in between like what the general consensus is like in the red pill space of how these girls are all fucking filthy whores. So that's like one extreme, and I think Alex really shot pretty low. So it's probably somewhere, I don't know, in between.
My guess is on the higher end for girls will be 20, but I think like otherwise 10 to 12, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe even 8 to 12.
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess that's considering like every female on the planet, man. You're talking about some cultures which are more conservative.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're thinking exactly, Muslim cultures
I
here.
think it's only taking into account.
I don't know how he's
America,
getting
right?
that, but
You gonna say?
What was that,
I
Marcus?
think
What'd
if
you say?
you, I think if you, we're talking about lay count, right? Like if you look at the data from America, I think the average lay count for someone in their 20s is around that 6 point for men and women. But I agree with you. I think basically what happens is if you look at the distribution, there's going to be like the top 10% of guys and girls that fuck around a lot. And then the rest of the 90% are going to be like slightly lower. So I think what you'll find is you'll have very like promiscuous girls that might be sitting around like 20 or whatever it might be. I mean, we know we go out to clubs, we meet girls that have like high lay counts and shit. But then you're gonna have the rest of them that are probably sitting at like 3, 2, 4, shit like this. And then it probably averages out to, around 6 when you survey guys and girls. So yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty believable to me. I guess it just depends what space you're in. If you're going to a club that has those top 10% of girls that are like, I'm looking to get fucking laid, then obviously it's going to be higher. But yeah, I think it sounds about right. Sitting around 6 as an average.
I'd say like the pattern I've noticed with those kind of girls as well is that they're not gonna, like, for me, I've stayed single for like properly like ethically non-monogamous for like 2 years, whereas girls aren't going to do that. Even the ones who are like highly promiscuous, they're going to have like long stretches where they have like a boyfriend, which they may cheat on or whatever, but you're going to have those girls who like jump out of relationships, get laid a lot, then jump back into a relationship, which is like the pattern I see with even the girls I know who are the most promiscuous. That's still the pattern for them typically, whereas it's not so much for like the guys necessarily.
Do you think?
Yeah, like that's just not the girls I've hung out with and like especially in America, the American girls I hang out with, it would just be like, you know, that if you hung out with them for like longer than 6 months, at some point they would get a boyfriend, and they'll be off the market for like a year, and then they'll break up with that boyfriend and come back. And that's
I
like
agree
typically
with
like
that. I'm saying, like, do you not think guys do that?
oh yeah, I know guys do that as well. I guess in our circle of men, like a lot more, I know a lot more guys who are just like single for like ages, and just kind of like playing the game for
Yes.
like years on end. Yeah, maybe that's
Yes.
just us. The average, I guess you're right though. The average dude probably exactly the same pattern.
Yeah, that's what I'm at. Like, if I look at a lot of our students that come in or just got like, I feel like one of the biggest issues we face are the guys that like get good at game, and then they meet like the next cool girl. They're like, that's it. I'm getting fucking married. I'm having kids
Disappear.
right
Yeah,
now.
they just
And it's like,
disappear
bro,
from
you're
the
20
scene.
years old.
Mm.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's pretty standard where you have, yeah, even those top 10%, right, that are super, I was gonna say slutty, but I meant that in a good way, but super like promiscuous. Yeah, I imagine a lot of those people, as you said, are like jumping into relationships. It's like 3-4 months, they jump out, they jump into another relationship, and in between they're like fucking around. So yeah, makes sense from what I see as well.
Why
That's
I'm
the
really
funny thing. That's the funny thing. Everybody preaches like monogamy, like especially women and stuff like that. And by and large, the single life, whatever that is kind of just like everybody's just fucking around with everybody. You know, oh, a situationship here. I'm with this guy for like 2 months.
Yeah.
I'm testing out the water. So I think the majority
Yeah.
of time spent is like people really just fucking around with each other and whatever, polyamorous. They're not labeling anything. So it's like, I just think that's funny how like girls preach monogamy all the time, and the majority of their life time is spent like just fucking around and dating a bunch of us.
How do you think it should be? If you were to give a prescription here for girls and guys, I
Yeah, I'm
guess.
not saying that's prescription for girls. I mean, listen, I think that's just part of the
Prescription for
process.
girls.
To be honest with you,
Here's a prescription for only X dicks per month.
yeah.
Yes,
No, but I mean, like,
Prescription. I mean,
seriously,
listen.
like,
Oh, yeah.
if you go into
seriously.
schools, for example, and like, or you in the clubs and you're preaching, what would you be telling guys and girls in regards to this? Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say, right, I think people need to understand their why and their core values and what they actually want from life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see where
So,
you're going. I see where you're going.
and just be clear on that. That's kind of how I started this. Like, Cam coached me back in the day with Andy, and we were really clear. Like, I'm actually looking to enter a serious relationship, but I'm gonna be able to choose who I want to be with, and I want to choose someone really good, and I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to get as good as I need to get, and after a couple years of getting really good, I'm gonna choose someone. Um, that was my own personal decision to go really, really hard because I was 30, had never been on a fucking date, so I had no experience. I didn't know anything about women whatsoever. Now I've been on fucking 200 plus, and I'm pretty good with women, and they like me, and it's fucking great. It's great, and I can, if I want, I can choose to be with one, and that took a lot of work. So because I know what I want, I actually want to start a family, um, and that means I need to work really hard on my business and be really great with people. And I'm because I'm really clear on that. I've got a multiple year plan, and that meant for me the women who are entering my life, man, I'm more selective about it now. If it's just not quite gonna really move the needle for me, and it's not gonna be an experience that I'm gonna enjoy. If I'm not gonna really enjoy connecting with them, then I'm not gonna probably spend a whole lot of time dating with them. And I found I've got like a lot more selective, and so, I'm in the interesting position now where there's women chasing me and stuff, which was not the case for the first 2 fucking years at all. Cam will tell you some stories. So yeah, for me, I think people need to understand what they want and develop a bit of a roadmap for themselves. And to do that, I think you need the experience too. You need to have tried and seen what you really resonate with. So that's kind of where I would approach that. I'm curious to see what you guys think.
So what if a girl's looking for what you're looking for, it's like experimentation phase and then into selecting like someone to have kids with. That would be like that's the basic plan based on your experience. I guess it's different because we can't experience like a woman's dating experience, but we can have an educated guess. But I think that's fair. I think allowing everybody, like, even if you have like serious designs, which I think a lot of guys I speak to in the space, a lot of them do have quite serious designs towards family eventually as well. It's not just loads of like fuckboys and, you know, degens just wanting to get laid as much as possible. It's also like
Which is
people who
fine.
want, yeah, people who want to get that, like, that selection ability. Which, to be fair, like, maybe girls have that more, you know, they have more choice potentially, so it might be easier for them, and they maybe have to go less of the experimentation or whatever. But I think allowing everybody the experimentation, the fun phase, you know, and also like learning the skills as well in terms of like selecting people or like dating, that's actually quite valuable.
For sure.
I think a lot of it falls on the shoulders of guys, actually. You know, we're like, we kind of lead the direction of where, like, what we're looking for, really. Like, when it comes to online, if the less and less guys nowadays are doing anything or approaching in real life, like, it's going to set the tone of what type of women we're really, like, almost creating in a way. And if we don't like the you know, like, if we think you're only going to meet a certain type of woman online as opposed to in person, and maybe at work, you're getting a different representation of each one. You know, I think you're being put into like a category of like just the online guy at this point. Like, there's a lot less. The woman, it's kind of the woman's wheelhouse at that point. It's like she has all the anonymity. She's not going to be as judged. She's not going to, like, had she met the same guy maybe at her workplace or in person, she feels a little bit more committed, and like that sense of like, I don't owe this guy anything. You know, you can kick rocks after I fuck you. They get to act and behave like men, you know, online a lot more. That's one of the things I noticed. So we kind of set the tone of what type of girls we're going to be, you know, dealing with, really.
They say you attract what you are, man. You bring into your reality, like everything that's going on here, it's going to be projected out into the world. And when we're coming from a really good place and we've got like our intention and what we seek, we tend to like select for that. So
What
I get
was the original question on this one? Like, how do we start off from? Like, where are we going? Yeah, what was the question on this one?
How would you actually advise like men and women to approach this
Oh,
stuff?
gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, actually, because I do have pretty
streams,
strong
man.
thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think it needs to come from multiple streams for sure. Like, you need to be well rounded in all these different venues to meet women for sure. Like, kind of go what you.
I think the way that I feel about it is what you started off with, which is like, what do you really want? And when a guy doesn't have any girls, like, I mean, you know, I can't speak for all guys, but I think quite a few guys, I'd say that maybe even a majority of guys just want like one girl or one partner or something that they can like just chill with. They probably want to fuck everyone, yes, but they just want that one partner, someone that they can like be tight with or something. And then they obviously start off like most of us not getting any girls, never getting any attraction or anything, and so on and so forth. And they're like, okay, cool. So pickup is a thing, game is a thing. Let's do this. And then they get into it, and then they just keep going through without like an end objective of like, what was the actual end plan? Like, I wasn't getting any girls, but was the goal to get like 100 lay count? Or was the goal to like be happy? And my happiness actually came through building something really meaningful or something with someone. So the skill of getting more girls, or that number thing, was to get with a girl that I actually find attractive and enjoyable, you know, all the times that I'm not fucking her. And I enjoy spending time with. And that's the thing that you kind of want to go for, right? All right, that's what I think. That's what I think it should be the priority, I think, because I guess most people would want that as opposed to just chasing like high lay count numbers. Because, and even there, like it's like a he who must not be named pickup coach who has like apparently 1,500 plus lays or something.
Okay.
But as far as I know, again, I don't follow the space, but you know, everybody's making those videos and stuff. But he's not in a happy relationship at this point, as far as I know, as far as I understand it.
You talking shit about Jane?
I think so.
I'll just fuck with
That's
you.
quite a dangerous thing to do, I think.
I'll clip this and send it to him. Okay, I'm kidding.
But the goal there, it was the same thing, right? Like, was it really to get like X many hundreds of lays, or was it like, do you actually want to live like a happy life? Because, well, how did that help? How did all that skill, pickup, game, How did like, I mean, this is a bit of a tangent, but but like I have my other pickup, my business guru coach guy who makes infinite amounts of money, right? And he infinite fucking amounts of money, right? But his wife is now divorcing him, and they're breaking up their family of like 3 kids or whatever the fuck that is. So was the goal really to make that much money, or was the goal really that he could secure his family's life and so on and so forth? So it's the same thing, but just in pickup, right? Like, what was your actual goal?
Keaton, do you see the point from this though, that maybe it's about like, for like, I was thinking about this like literally the other day. Like, part of the reason like I went so hard into like dating and learning how to get girls was more like to prove something to myself as well, and also to have like we call it like abundance mentality or whatever, but like the safety of knowing
I know.
that even
I didn't want to use that word because it's like, but it is that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the safety of knowing that I'm always going to be okay as far as girls are
The
concerned.
safety,
In the same way that
exactly. Yeah. Like,
in the
if
same way
this
that like
girl
earning a
leaves
shit
me,
ton of money. Yeah, yeah. Like
yes,
having infinite money and having fuck you money is all about having like just
yes,
this
yes,
safety of like never needing to worry about it again. And like similarly with dating,
exactly.
as long as you
Same
keep yourself
thing.
relatively
Yeah.
in check. If I let myself go and got like obese and I like became a social recluse, yeah, I'd probably lose a lot of like ability. But like if I got into a relationship for 4 years and then it ended, I'd back myself to like walk out of it and just
Exactly.
be
You could
okay.
lose the weight again and just start going out again. And in 3 months, you'd probably be back again.
Yes, there's an argument the skills, like the way Scotty says, like Scotty wants like multiple taps, like you have like all the skills, and that gives you this sense of like it's just infinite eternal security in that area. And that is worth
Yes. Yeah.
so there's something worth having about that, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
for sure. Because like he
Yeah.
said, my initial thing is to just be with that one partner. But before I really started racking up numbers, like I was just with this one girl for almost 3 years, and it wasn't until like she told me her body count and stuff, and it really hit me in the face. I'm like, wow, girls have it like really easy. They could just, and it was like this insecurity that just was like festering inside of me. That I'm like, I don't think it will ever. I thought that by doing just racking up a ton of
More, you would be
numbers
better, but
was gonna
no.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it would be a form of
Yeah.
remedy, and it was to a certain extent. It really is, because you're proving to yourself that you could go do it, and you can attract plenty of women when you've only had like 3 or 4 under your belt, and you've already had a girlfriend for 3 years, and you kind of landed her just kind of by like no game, just like in the same workplace. There's this deep insecurity that just festers, and I'm like, oh my god, like it just eats me. As much as I like spending time with this girl, it's like it would be nice, but I'm like, I'm not going to be satisfied until I prove to myself that I can really attract as many girls as I want, you know.
I actually have one interesting thing here, like a practical application of the thing. How many girls, these many girls, blah blah blah, all that where that comes in, that abundance thing comes in, is like no matter which girl you're gonna be with, including the girl that I'm with right now, and any of the relationships that I had in the past, no matter how good she is, and so on and so forth, she will shit test you. And
Right.
if you're that guy that only gets the first girl, second girl, fourth girl, fifth girl, you will fail the shit test simply because you're like, oh, what if she leaves? I will never get another girl. But if you know that you can get other girls and all that stuff, you can hold your ground and you can pass the shit test. And ironically, you can have a much happier relationship with this girl. That's where the abundance thing comes in, what Cam just spoke about.
Because listen, that's kind of how girls think all the time. That's just like what I'm saying. That's like an inherent thing for most women, is that this whole idea of game and stuff like that for girls doesn't really even exist. They just laugh at it. They think, they're just like, what do you mean? Like, you could see it like when you just press them a little bit, how they have that abundant mentality just naturally, because guys have been hollering at them and propositioning them since they were like in middle school. So they don't even understand what we're talking about for the most part,
Oh, I was gonna say, interestingly, right now, Andy and I are coaching a woman, and she's like getting back into basically her husband. I don't want to divulge too much details, but like her husband like passed away or whatever, so she's like getting back into dating after like a while. And like it's just a different, like the strategy level in terms of like getting what you want is just different for women, because it's more about it's more about selection and being very careful of like who they actually like give time to, if that makes sense, which isn't necessary, can be for us if we have like loads of options. But for the guy who's just starting, it's not really about like, like efficiency of time and like choosing the right partner. It's about like getting some experience and getting like actually laid for once. But yeah, very much for like, she had like 14 options within the first couple of weeks of like guys she could go and hang out with. Like, and it was just like, okay, we were literally just like, she was sending us notes and we were like, okay, this seems like a good idea. This guy seems like a good idea. Cut these 10 guys and focus on these 4. And it was just, It's like a football coach cutting players at the beginning of a season. You know, it's just like these guys are out. Yeah.
That's a great, for example, me and my sister came to Palm Coast, Florida, which is like the fucking witness protection program. It is fucking dead. But me and my sister, who's 4 years older than me, she has a Tinder or whatever, showed me like her DM. She's literally overwhelmed. So
Max,
it
right?
didn't
Yeah.
going from New York to Palm Coast did not affect my sister in the same capacity as it affected me. Like she immediately had a boyfriend pretty quickly. She just was overwhelmed with the amount of matches. She's not like gorgeous either. She's a 41-year-old girl on Tinder, like a yoga instructor. It's like, dude, she was not affected at all by the move. Like, but that's just the way it is for girls, man. It's just a different ballgame.
You see, what's interesting about this to me, yeah, and I don't know, we chatted to a few of these guys, and I know a lot about the journeys of all the men in this show right here. But like a big thing that men can do to like level the playing field, so to speak, is go through like a player phase. Yeah, so psychologically, you've been able to go through this, develop the skill set, develop these abilities. What you just shared there, Cam, was actually quite powerful for me because I think to myself, like, fuck me, this dude's getting cut like that, but like you do this shit for a couple years and you can really stand out above those dudes because it's a curious experience when women are then chasing you and then you're not too worried about it. So that's a testament to staying with this process and developing your skills. And this is like an idea that it's quite common in our space, and there's some massive examples of this, right, that are quite inspiring. So a big one for a lot of us who came up was, of course, Brian's example. Yeah, Brian went fucking hard as hell for 6 years or 7 years, something like that. Out every single day, like just doing unbelievable stuff that like we still talk about, just crazy shit. Um, and like that level of immersion, of course, produces what he has. So he took like 7 years off, and he was hanging out with me in New York, and like just the first approach he did, right? After all that time, how fucking calibrated he was, like everything was just so, like I've been doing this 3 years. He's so far above what I can do right now. And that's a testament to just the time and effort he put in. It was very fucking impressive. And he got laid like 3 times that week. I did too. I got laid with one gal and saw her a bunch of times. But like this period of immersion, we get questions and people are curious about what Scotty's period of immersion really looked like. And I got some vague idea from like lurking the good-looking dudes of forums and stuff and talking to guys. But I want to know, Brian, what were you consuming in that time? Like, what drove you to do these things? In your era, was this common that guys would go hard as fuck like this? What ideas were you ahead? And we know you were listening to the Pheromone Kid a lot, but can you talk to us
Mhm.
more about like what drove you and what ideas and inspiration you were drawing from?
Yeah, man, sure. I think well, it was just right place, right time. Also, I just didn't even know it, but I was in a really good place, really good city. A lot of guys were into this stuff. I think it's right around when the game started that like popped onto the scene, and people were finding out about mystery. You would go to Union Square, for example, and you would actually see a lot of guys sarging or whatever, doing pickup or peacocking. Like it was common to see it, man. So it was just a good time period where it was like, if you were going to get into it, it was a no better opportunity. Like I was saying, at the time, I had a girlfriend of 3 years, and it was like, yeah, I kind of liked this girl a lot and everything, but it was just, I just always felt like, man, I don't know, like I needed to really get that experience, especially once I heard that like her body count. She was 10 years older than me, and she was like, she had all that stuff in her. She was ready to like have a husband and stuff like that. So I was like, I wasn't there yet. I was still a young guy, like 22 years old. So I really had minimal experience, and I knew all the options around me. And what really drove me was just actually a buddy of mine in the bodybuilding world was just got out of a bad breakup, and he had mentioned to me he's like into like reading all this stuff, and I never really got too much into the theory aspect of it. And the most I really did once he pushed me to do a boot camp with him was like listen to those Pheromone Kid interviews, and that guy really resonated with me for some reason. All the other jargon, the pickup jargon, and the openers, and all this, the theory kind of was like, bouncing off my forehead. Not to say I wasn't taking all the good that was coming out of like the boot camp and like the taking action part, and the camaraderie of people just going out and taking at approaching as many women as you can, and then playing the numbers game. Like all that stuff was a positive, but like some of the other stuff just wasn't resonating with me, nor did I really feel like I needed it. Like at least they had enough flexibility, like Underground Dating Seminar at the time was like, do with whatever works for you. They weren't like a cookie cutter thing, like you have to follow our thing. If like going direct seems to be really working for you, go with that. You know what I mean? So, and I was getting results with that stuff. And once I heard, Brad interview the pheromone kid, I was like, this dude's like kind of like a natural. You could see he doesn't know any of the pickup lingo or anything like that. And he just resonated with me. So like during work, I would just listen to those CDs over and over again. It was just, it was like, dude, I'm more into like the quick kills. So I just want the quick, the quick stuff. I want to see how quickly I can escalate, how quickly I can sleep with girls. That just really intrigued me, man. So I knew I didn't have like my best. You have to find out your strengths and weaknesses, and like the best I had really was like honestly maybe 10 good solid minutes of material, and then the rest I kind of like I didn't want to deal with the texting game and all this shit. Even to this day, like I just get bored with it really quick, and it's just like such a waste of time. I don't, because I feel like I'm handicapped at that point. That's why I like with the online dating, it's like you can't fully bring yourself to the table and see what your entire package, like what your entire presentation is kind of like, you're a faceless person at that point. So you're just like everybody else. So what makes you stand out is see what you bring to the, see your entire presentation, your eye contact, body language, see how important the nonverbal game is, like how much you can move the girl emotionally in person. I think you're limited when it comes to just communicating with people like via, all digital text messaging and stuff like that. And so I don't know where I'm going with that, but yeah, that's what I was consuming. I was consuming mainly that type of stuff. What else? I mean, there was a few guys in my circle that were getting laid in terms of guys who had no idea about the pickup stuff, and I had introduced to them some of the pheromone kid stuff, and they were like they got a kick out of it, so it just was motivating them too. But I don't know, there were certain movies that I was really watching a lot.
Sorry, man.
Go ahead, Cam.
Let's say, how long did you and Chris like wing with each other for? And like, was that like a couple of years? And was it just you two, or was there like more of a group of you?
I actually met Chris. See, like once I worked with this guy, we did a boot camp. I actually did a couple sessions with him one-on-one, and he immediately like hired me not too long after that. And he's like, this result doing the stuff that the pheromone kid was talking about. I was pulling girls into my car, getting blowjobs and stuff. These coaches were blown away, and despite not really knowing all their material, because that's what they would coach, they would spend time talking theory, and then they would spend time in the field with these guys. They took me on kind of as an assistant initially, just so that they knew that I was getting results, and it would be good for students even just to be around me and watch what I'm doing, instead of like at that point I really couldn't explain it that well. But yeah, so he hired me, and then I went out to the pickup mansion, and that's where me and Chris actually met. And Brad was trying to link us up together, because oftentimes when we would go to these things, there were like a lot of guys would look at us and be like, what are you guys doing here? And I think that's where the name Good Looking Loser really came from, because we stood out. I don't know, we were both pretty jacked up kids, and you would think like, yo, why do you need this? So the majority of people at these things were like really awkward or like kind of nerdy kids who had like zero experience with women. So I would hear that literally like every time I would show up at a boot camp or something, like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? So he felt me and Chris would be a good match, because he wasn't really gelling well with some of the other guys in the pickup mansion. So once he brought me there, we kind of hit it off. We were talking about supplements, bodybuilding, training, and like other shit like that. We were always trying to look to get the edge in something. So I basically worked with him exclusively there at the mansion. He ended up getting laid the weekend I went there, which was pretty ironic. And he was struggling a little bit up until that point. Yeah, man. And then we just stayed in touch from there. We would like speak on the phone, spend like hours on the phone, just bullshitting. He would always, because I lived in New York and the mansion was out in LA. So we just kind of hit it off, and he would fill me in on what's going on with how, if he's progressing. I even threw him an offer that, when you're done with the mansion, which was like a 6-month commitment, I was like, yo, you could come live with me, and I guarantee your results will be expounded, even more. So he ended up not doing that, but like that's kind of when he did come to New York. We did some of our first footage. He got me like doing some infields together. He was kind of already retired at that, like moving in a different direction with it. He had met a pretty solid girl at that point. And so to answer your question, probably just a handful of times really that we gamed together, man, like one-on-one. Because at that point, I think he had already started moving in a different direction when I was like still fully immersed in the whole lifestyle, going out day in and day out and just, running rotations and stuff like that. And I was coaching the guys. I was, most of the people that would go to him on Good Look and Loser on the forum, he would, send to me immediately. So I was still coaching guys at that point. And it was just a good time, man. It was a good period of time because it was before all this, the primary thing is crazy to think about it now, but like blogs and forums were like so huge at that point, Another guy who really influenced me quite a bit was this guy Aaron Sleazy, who was pretty well known in the community. I think like on MASF or something like that, one of those seduction forums, for like quick pulls, nonverbal stuff, and he started building quite the reputation, just like posting lay reports all the time. And he lived in Germany, and we also kind of hit it off. And he came to New York, came to the States, and he lived with me for like, I would say 4 days, whatever. And we just went out every day, went to the city. So it was a pretty dope experience to see that guy in action after like reading about him for so many years. He was the first guy to kind of like, I think he wrote a book called Debunking the Seduction Community or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he started writing his own blogs, and he's pretty popular. He has a pretty big following. So, I would say those are some of the big, people that influenced me for sure, man. It wasn't as much as I would have liked to. I wish I got a chance to have like a really solid wing throughout the whole 6-year period, because it was really a good 6 years, man, where I was just hitting the pavement really hard, man. I was just like, I would say anywhere between 5 to 7 days a week, 3 to 4 hours a day. Just, it was also perfect in terms of my lifestyle. Like my dad's business he very much custom tailored it to like make it suitable for this. It was like a match made in heaven, where I had a lot of time. My job almost blended perfectly with, living the lifestyle and picking up chicks and going around and just having a lot of access to a lot of women like all the time. So even during work, I was getting pulls. I was always on the lookout, man. There wasn't like a separate self role. Like it was a nice way that it didn't feel like pickup was something separate, where I had to put aside time to go Sarge. Sure, I would meet up with some buddies once in a while, but by and large, my day in, the moment I opened my eyes, it started, like there was no separating time between pickup and my regular life. So I think that really was beneficial, because I really felt like it became a part of my overall identity. It wasn't just a fun little hobby that's going to be a little phase. And that's why even now, like I was just blown away that I'd be able to take a 7-year basic hiatus on this shit and still come back. Yeah, I'm rusty. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little rusty, but it took me. I'll never go back to some of the beginning, aches and pains and the misery of all the anxiety and all that shit. Is like it's now with all that rewiring, it came back, as you could tell, Robbie, like really, really quickly, man. I obviously could sharpen things up, and the more, I think, like in anything else, you're never a finished product. I still think there's always room for improvement, and the more you do something, the more you practice it. It's like a good comedian, man. You just get sharper and sharper. You're like, your mind is just picking up on everything a lot quicker. The more you see it, the more you're exposed to it, this shit just starts to flow a lot easier. You don't have to think twice about it. When you're in your head at the beginning stages for however long that lasts, it's fucking torture, man. You have to get used to it, man. And that's just a matter of practice. Some guys it takes longer to achieve, and other guys it's, it happens quickly, but it's just part of the process, man.
For sure, bro. And that's like quite interesting, because many people will ask about that era. You're a bit of an enigma. There's many people like, what the fuck? Is he even real? They didn't know that the legend of Scotty is a real person. But like in today's scene, this shit has evolved, right? What I love about the level of commitment and dedication that you and Chris put in, like that really inspired me to, and it of course inspired people like Andy, people like Cam, and then I came from there as well and just did the same things that you guys did. But like if you look at it today, I want to talk about the black pill, yeah, because I've got something for you. Right. So here's one thing I did not too long ago. In fact, it was a week or two ago. Um, I actually submitted my photos to one of these like black pill facial rating analysis services. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah. So you know where I'm going with this, Brian, all right? So I went ahead and did that. Now the reason being, I'm on a journey. I'm on a journey of self-improvement, and I'm always chopping and changing and trying different things with my look, with my image.
What's the
Um,
verdict? Do you need to go kill yourself or no?
and bro, you know what? The verdict is I'm apparently a 4 out of 10, and that that apparently means I haven't got much potential to succeed with women. And the
But
very
does he
same.
factor in? Does he factor in your height? Does he factor in any of that stuff, or just
Let
your
me pull it up.
facial symmetry?
I'm gonna share my screen, Jen. So I'm gonna show you what came up. Yeah. So here's Ravi's fucking 4 out of 10 breakdown. Can you see my screen right now? Can you see YouTube?
Yeah,
Cool. All right. So
that's what you submitted.
no. This is the video that I made about it, right? So of course I've been on a journey. This is where I fucking was back in the day. This fat fucker with a lot of anxiety, a lot of issues, and then, to my defense, I've improved, which is good. So yeah, over my own journey, of course, you can see the statistics. Like I've fucking killed this shit. Like I've lost all this weight. Just totally transformed myself, and I have plenty of women going on in my life, man. You know what I mean? So yeah. But end of the day, I'm curious about this stuff because I'm a self-improvement guy. Like my fundamental contribution is that I believe in self-improvement. I believe because it saved my life, of course. And I believe in getting better and getting better all the time. So I want to actually get better retention. I want to like get a better connection, and also I want to attract better quality. Sometimes this shit is a multi-year journey. You know, when you get better, you attract better. So I'm always finding ways. I'm putting a lot of time into building my body and also trying to improve my looks and physical appearance. So I wanted to get a baseline, yeah. Sent it over to this fine gentleman, and apparently I am a 4 out of 10. So why I'm a 4 out of 10 is because I've got e uh yeah, I've got upper and lower eyelid exposure, whatever the fuck that is. I've got large eye orbits, which to be fair, yeah, I can kind of see that. Fair enough. Low set cheekbones. Okay, fine. And then large eyebrow length, oversized forehead, and apparently I'm balding, which I don't know. I don't think I am actually. But there you go. For this reason, he suggests that yeah. For this reason, apparently it's over for me. Now, I can say categorically, of course it fucking wasn't over for me. It's got a better year after fucking year, right? Um, what do you guys think is the utility of the? I'm gonna weigh in as well, yeah, and I'll chat to you guys about what I think about the utility of these sorts of like facial ratings. But does anyone want to comment?
Did he factor in height as well, or no? Just facial symmetry. You said.
No, don't, he didn't. This dude didn't factor in height, didn't factor in
Oh,
like
okay.
style, nothing. It's just purely face.
Base.
Yeah, that's all it is. But the
Yeah,
the
I
thing
think
is,
this could be very helpful if it wasn't just a score, but you gave some advice. I think that'd be nice, right? Like it'd like be us taking on a student, watching him in set for a night, and then just being like, "Yeah, I rate your game a 3 out of 10, and this is why I think it's a 3 out of 10." All right, see ya. Like, what's the fucking point? So I think if he was to actually rate you 4 out of 10 and then give you some advice based off, that'd be really cool. Like maybe if you're like me and you are balding a little bit, maybe he's like, yo, you should try some minoxidil or like this haircut. Or like, hey, I think with your facial structure, maybe like growing a beard would be really helpful. Yeah, I think these types of advice would be really good on the back of
Something
these black
useful.
pill, fucking judgments. But the problem with this is, and we all know it, they kind of just give a score and they have a fixed belief that that is completely directly associated with your results. So if you're a 4 out of 10, you're getting 4 out of 10 results. If you're a 10 out of 10, you're getting 10 out of 10 results. We all know that's bullshit. We all know, even if you look at studies behind this, we know women don't just purely look at someone's attractiveness and base it 100% on physicality. It comes down to charisma and your status and blah, 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 blah. I mean, we see examples of this all the time. There's all of us in chat right now, right? There's, I have way better results now, even though I used to be better looking before. And it just comes down to being able to, have a well-rounded personality. So looks are important, looks matter, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, go get your scores, figure out what you need to fix, do that. But yeah, I think to just solely base it on these are your looks, you can do nothing about it, go kill yourself, is not very helpful.
Totally agree
Is
with this,
that
man.
it's so that as well, man. Like, it's completely. I love everything Mark said. I agree with. I like more to the point with like riding boldness will damage your attract whatever with women. I did. I've done a series of videos about going bold and how it affects like dating. And I crunched the numbers, and it's like 98% of my lay's lifetime came after I lost my hair because I was actually fucking trying. Like after I was, I had sexual anxiety, and I was like I basically just late virgin, so I didn't lose my virginity until I was quite late, and I was already losing it. And then I just went super hard after I lost my hair, and it didn't fucking impede me at all. So it's like one of those things where it's just making these statements and just being like, yeah, it's over. Like there's always like a tagline, kind of what Marcus alluded to, of these are your problems you can't fix, therefore it's over for you. Like that seems to be the entire message of the black pill. And if it was more like and I think Wheat Waffles has on some occasions, whenever I've seen him said he believes in self-improvement and he thinks guys can improve, but I just don't, whenever I catch any of his stuff, I just never feel that vibe of like he's pushing self-improvement. That's my main criticism I have of like any big black pill creator, like basically just what Mark said, like they just don't push the self-improvement angle of it. They just assume that like, yeah, it's just like that means it's over for you, which is the worst, probably the worst message I like here in this space.
What is useful? Yeah, give me like a takeaway that's useful, not like it's
Happy
over
to.
for you.
I'll happily give you a takeaway from that.
I'm saying the black pill. I'm saying that's the problem with the black pill is like they don't give you something useful to take away. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, depends who you are.
It's
like,
over.
Yeah, unironically, I think that's what a lot of guys are looking for, right? They're looking to go to these black pill guys and have them basically say it's over for you. But
yes,
hey,
the confirmation bias.
The reason it's over for you is this trait that you can't actually change. Okay. And it's got nothing, well, it's got everything to do with you, but you can't do anything about it. Okay. So basically, the world's unfair. You've been genetically born this way. There's nothing you can do about it. And your life, you're never going to get women. And guys, actually, I think they find that super comforting. If you're a guy that's like, fuck it, you're like 20 years old, you spent your whole life for a 20-year-old, that feels like a very long time. But your whole life, not being able to have any success with girls whatsoever, right? Instead of thinking, fuck, it's these traits that I can change and get better at, but I just suck at that and I can't do it. But that's a tough thing, right? Like when we have guys in game, it's a tough journey. We've all been through that tough journey. What is a really easy journey is just being told, hey, you know what? You're not getting goals, but hey, it's got nothing to do with you. You're just ugly. Okay. You're a 4 out of 10. You're not going to get goals. Sweet. And guys, they love this, right? This is why they cling on to this belief so hard. That's why when you tell them and you show them like examples and they fight it. So all these black pill guys are so delusional. Like no piece of evidence will ever change their mind because it means so much about them. It means now, guess what? I have to go out and do all this fucking work. And you know what? I'd rather just sit home and fucking hate on girls and think that there's no good in having a relationship. And hey, it's because my forehead is a little bit too big and I'm balding, right? It's easy to think about.
It's very comforting. Yeah. It's very comforting.
This is why my story is quite interesting for this, yeah. Changing my game and my vibe like amplified my results to a different fucking stratosphere. So I put a lot of work in. I got a lot of coaching, mentoring. Fuck me, I did a lot, right? Boot camps, just everything, man. Traveled around the world to get better because I'm stubborn and I don't quit. Um, My looks remained like relatively static. Like I'm a big, tall, like 6'5", kind of lanky dude, trying to put on some muscle, following Keaton's advice over there, which is helping, and it's gonna be a game-changing year for me when I have some muscle. But improvements in my actual social skills and my calibration, um, my overall ability to just be who I want to be, like express authentically from my core, yeah, how I feel. Like those things are so raw and powerful that the dates that I was struggling to convert on, I then just converted again, 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 had like plenty of success. My looks were the same. I had the same apparently inappropriate eyebrow length or fucking large eye orbitals or whatever. What changed was I learned how to express myself properly and like actually evoke emotions. That shit is extremely powerful because, the old adage, just be cool, bro. Unfortunately, as frustrating as it is, there's some truth in it. People who are cool, charismatic, like fun to be around, like they're in a room and everyone's vibe increases. Yeah, Scotty's got that ability. If you're around him, your fucking vibe increases. That's why I like talking to him. Um, like those things we don't want to accept because it can be hard, man, to change that. But I'm living proof that like I went through a freaking vibe transplant and changed it. And the people here know, like Cam knows, if anyone in this world knows, because he coached me from the start, that in my opinion, the social skills and calibration and all of that outweighs looks. Yeah, looks important, of course. When I was a fat fuck, it was hard mode. We already know that. We've got the data. I recorded every day of this journey since the start, and it's read by almost 800,000 people. So the data is there. We remember when I was fat, it was horrible.
But even that you can even that with the ability to, game and your, I guess your, I don't know, your swag factor, even that could be overcome. So like even that obviously is the root of all of it, man, because it's hard to break that identity. I think that's the hardest pill to swallow, is like going from the guy you think you are to really just your whole identity shifting and be like, I'm not that guy anymore. And it might like want to be a part of you anymore. It's just like there's too much evidence backing in that you're no longer this timid guy who can't walk up to girls, who's like petrified and shit like that. That's the root of it, is like your identity's changing and you're showing enough evidence now to back it up that I'm no longer that guy. I've actually become the dude I've seen other guys be with women, or the ideal that I had for myself. It's hard to break that. It's like an identity shift, really.
That's beautiful, man, because that's something that we all like. I was looking for that in this journey. I was looking for that, like the aura, like the presence, and I'm so glad I got to experience this, like staying with this for 3 years, and I'm gonna continue until I got what I seek and produce what I want to produce. But like on the image and looks thing, everyone here who knows me well knows that my image changed, yeah, from the start to now. But like, look at what my life looks like now, and look at how women respond to me and all that. The looks, they're going to improve, but they weren't the most significant factor. Why I actually ended up bad with women in the first place, why I was a fucking virgin at 30, it was because of social skills and low self-esteem.
Yeah.
That was why that happened in the first place. It wasn't that I was too fucking ugly or whatever. And in addressing those things and actually getting to the root of the problem, now it's fucking great.
I
Why
want
I
to
have
add something to what. Sorry, that's cool. I want to add something to what Marcus actually mentioned before. But why the black pill guys like to hold on to their identity thing is, again, because the locus of control is out of their hands and everything. And it's like cool to be like, oh shit, I am this because this. Like, I mean, I don't know. I recently posted something. I think you saw that too. It was like about some Indian dude who asked me like, "Hey man, can I build muscle because it seems like my caste has really bad genetics to build muscle."
Yeah,
It's
I
like
saw that.
people
I
will
saw
come up
that.
with like all kinds of random shit to like prove to them, not prove to themselves, like come up with an excuse. And the other thing is, I think because 20 is so young, and you haven't even had enough time, in my opinion, in your life to like just be watch other people be successful or get the results that you want and all that kind of stuff. Like you haven't hit that rock bottom yet. That I don't think any most I would be like less than 1 or 2%, maybe 3% of 20-year-olds would even understand that part. All of this stuff would really only start, like for me, it only started after 28, 29. And for you also is like around 30-ish or something. I think for Cam, I don't know, was 26, 27? I really don't know. But like it's after, right? It's not in your 20s when you start off all this kind of stuff. And I think the reason for that is simple because they haven't hit rock bottom yet. And it takes a while in your life to hit rock bottom first. And once you hit rock bottom, and then you, I made a video about this. Like once you hit rock bottom, and then you're like, okay, I am black belt, and these are my orbitals, and these are my eye colors, and everything. So either I take this gun and I blow my head off, or I try something in life, right? And then when you start trying in life, then all of that black belt stuff that you thought was the thing that's holding you back. Like for me, I think what was holding me back, what I thought was holding me back was like I'm brown. Like I'm brown, I'm Indian. People just think every Indian's a rapist and this and this, and they're racist against you and all that kind of shit. That was the stuff that was in my head.
Yeah.
But but I was like, either I hold on to that thing, or I just go out and start talking to as many girls as I possibly can, because if not, I'm gonna die alone and unhappy. Most importantly, I'm gonna die unhappy, right?
Yeah.
So that rock bottom thing, I don't think it comes until like at least 25, 28, or beyond that.
And what I love about this, Keaton, is you took action like a motherfucker and have reached the retirement life of having a dog and a beautiful girlfriend and just playing video games all day, apparently.
He'll be back soon enough, man. He'll be back. This
Yeah.
is just a this is
Yeah.
just a phase, man. He'll be
Keaton,
back.
talk to us about that.
No, a dog's serious. A dog is super serious, bro.
Yeah.
Scotty,
What's
you can't come back from the dog.
Talk to us about your retirement, Keaton. What's going on?
No, I'm just chilling. I'm legit. Well, from the age of 28, 29, again, when I literally started pickup, like I started the bodybuilding thing really seriously and started pickup really seriously, and then I started making money really seriously and working on all kinds of different things, including my mental health and stuff. When I hit this checkbox, and then I hit the next checkbox, and I hit the next checkbox, and it was all good. It was really good. It was fun being 6%, and it was fun going out on these dates, and it was fun making the money and everything. But I just also it was a thing. I was chasing something the entire time. And I don't know what it was. In my opinion, I'm just gonna say money, or not money, sorry. I want to say happiness or peace or something. I don't really know what it is, but yeah. So basically, at this point, I'm like, okay, chasing things isn't really the thing. I've already achieved quite a few of these things, and I've been working nonstop. And I sacrifice gaming, and I sacrifice this and this and everything else.
Mm.
So at this point, I kind of just want to live my life. Just enjoy the things that I sacrificed to try and get something that I thought would make me happy. And while I was sacrificing things that in the present moment definitely did make me a little bit happy. And the gaming part, this part, yes, this is like temporary because I will get bored of it. But that's what it is. I'm just enjoying life right now. So enjoying this guy and my time with my girl and just enjoying life at this point. That's it.
When I was in Andy's coaching, and I was in that for almost 2 years, man. He would talk about how why we do this is to be happy, and why you're putting on the effort is to
Yeah.
like enjoy your life. At that
Yeah.
time, I had like very severe fucking extreme workaholism. I was like a grinding type person. Cam will remember. I wouldn't take any time off. I wouldn't relax. I was an extreme, intense person, right? To lose all that weight, to lose almost 100
Right.
pounds. Yeah. And then to approach 4 hours a day for almost 2 years, in the streets of the cold streets of central London where it's not forgiving. You have to, and to go from zero to almost 100 dates in that time, right? It it took fucking determination and drive because I was so serious. I just couldn't live like that anymore. I couldn't be the person I was. And in that utter intense grinding, man, would you believe that I now believe, and Andy's so smart, man. Like, of course I carried on my life, but every few months it will come to me like things he said and things he told me, like, you have to come from happiness. You actually have to come from abundance. You can't do that intense grinding energy. That's what kills your vibe. it damages your social skills. Like you don't come across well, right? Like that. And letting go of that and understanding you can achieve everything you're looking for, like with the right mentality,
Hey, no
the right
bite.
and coming from the right place, right? Um, so this is why, like, of course, I had that realization. I let go. I did a lot of the things to really let go, heal myself, started to do more like mind work, psychedelic therapy, and just trying to understand why I'm here and what I'm really wanting to do. And it's curious to me now, Keaton, because of course you've been on a journey and I followed that. But like yeah, you're really emphasizing happiness now, and apparently for you that looks like video games right now and
Yeah.
absolutely destroying these kids. Talk to me about that.
I have an analogy for that thing. I think everybody kind of knows the story, but there's that story about that guy that's on some dude, some tourist visits some island, and he sees this guy who's on a hammock who sells coconuts, and he's just lying on his hammock selling coconuts, and he's sleeping all the time. And somebody comes up and asks him for coconuts, and he sells them, to them. And this guy says, "Bro, these are the best coconuts I've ever tasted in my life. Oh my God, you should sell these things here and here and here." And he's like, why? Because he sees him sleeping. He's like, no, no, bro, you should do way more work. He's like, why? He's like, because then, you can branch out and do more and then, make multiple different branches of the same thing and make even more money. I was like, then why though? And he's like, oh, because then you can market outside and export these things outside. And I'm like, why though? And then he's like, because you'll become a millionaire, billionaire. This is literally the best coconut that anybody's ever had. You don't know what you're sitting on. I was like, okay, what do I do after that? And he was like, well, then you have all this money and then you can sit back and chill and relax. I was like, dude, I'm in my fucking hammock doing the exact same thing. Why do I need to do any other fucking work?
Sick.
So
Fucking
does
hell.
that kind of make sense? Because
Yeah.
that, in my opinion, that kind of also answers that question too about like, what's the thing that you would teach someone about relationships? Like how many relationships should you be in, or how many people should you date, or something? And that's the thing. Like, is it your third? Is it your eighth? Is it your 10th? Or so? I don't think it should be between 1 to 4. I don't think so, but I think it should be more than that. But it's the same thing. Like, what's your end goal? Like, is your end goal that peace and happiness and just lying in the hammock and having a happy relationship with one person or something? Because if it is, then you don't need to be that person that's like slaying 100+ girls. You need to be that person that gets that one quality girl or something. You keep going through the girls, and then you get that quality girl, and that's the thing for you.
So is this like, here's the thing, yeah. I mean, look, well, I can speak for myself. I think I can speak for Cam and Scotty too. I don't know how Marcus or yourself, Keaton, feel about this, but some of this is a fucking numbers game, boys. It is, yeah. You do have to sometimes go through this, right? The earlier dates I was doing, man, that shit wasn't fun. Like I didn't even have game at that point, communication skills and nothing. I was pass out nervous. I was like feeling physically sick, yeah. So it was a numbers game. I did have to, whilst I understand, yeah, we do this to be happy. We do this to fully enjoy the experience. At that part of the journey, I really wasn't thinking about that, man. I was thinking about like improvement, getting better. So a little bit like the dude trying to shift those coconuts and like the guy asking him, you should be working on this, you should be developing this. Like I actually had to sharpen my sword a whole lot. Um, but like at the very same time, Keaton, I understand that like with you, you play the numbers game and then you found like what you were looking for. I mean, it seems like you're really happy with the chick you're dating right now, and it seems to be very, very fruitful. So this is why it's a bit complicated though, right? Can you just kind of sit back and just sink into this? Because for me, it was fucking work. I had to I do the numbers game, you know? What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think happiness is like, I don't know, that's kind of like a painting, like it's a subjective thing for each person. So I don't know, like there's no fixed thing that like this is ultimately going to bring this person happiness or that person happiness. And they're just words at the end of the day. I mean, like for me, I think that what is it? The chase is where the juice is, or whatever the action is, the juice or something like that. I think that's oftentimes I would have dates even lined up, and I would prefer to just go out with my boys and just honestly go out. And it was I realized that was majority of the fun. Yeah, you want to get some fruit, like you obviously want to get some results, but that is a big part of the fun in itself. So you could see that in itself is like where you're getting a lot of your joy and fulfillment. Like just keep doing it, man. I mean, I don't think that will ever fully go away. I mean, I'll want to take, I guess, some periods of just like, usually when you're seeing a girl more consistent that you like, just naturally you start to go out less and things like that. But you know, by and large, I think it's never fully going to go away. It wasn't during our interview with that guy Necro the other day. He's like, what do these guys mean when you like when they say they're retired or they're done or it's just a phase? Like I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna ever go away. Like you're still gonna see fucking girls and want to fuck them. Like I don't know if it's ever gonna fully go away. But that's just my thoughts.
Cam, talk to us about numbers game, given that you threw me into it.
I'll let Marcus go because I actually missed your entire speech because my connection
shit.
dropped out. So, yeah.
All good, bro. Marcus, what do you think?
Yeah, what do you mean by numbers game? What do you mean by that exactly?
So what Ketan shared was the importance of coming from happiness, finding what you seek and enjoying that. And my counterpoint was, well, to find what you seek in dating relationships, it's work. There's a lot of reps you have to put in. You have to kiss a lot of frogs. The mentality, the mentality I had, I don't know if it's the right one. I'm open to hear people's opinions. Was numbers game. Just keep bucking, doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this, and get better.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with this partly. I think it goes back to what we spoke about before, which was you need that like player phase, right? And whenever I hear numbers game, I'm always careful because I know there's a lot of guys that, again, we're talking about excuses before. They just try to tell themselves, oh, it's a numbers game. So I'm not going to improve that much. I'm just going to fucking expose myself to as many goals as I can. And there'll be some that kind of choose for me. And cool, like I'll be happy with that. So I agree. There's an element of this where it's a skill and you need numbers to be able to like hone that skill. And there's no way around that. Like if we're talking about, okay, number one, I think we can all agree that if you want to end up with the best goal that you can find in the happiest dynamic possible, then you need experience. That's just not going to happen on the first or second goal you meet. Now, can you be happy with the first or second goal you meet? Sure. But I would argue that's rare and it's going to be much more likely with the experience. So I think the more numbers you get, the more experience you have. Now you start understanding, okay, I know what I like, right? I don't like these goals that have these issues. Oh, I really do like these goals that may be a little bit more nurturing or a little bit more open or that, you know, love their career. Like whatever's compatible with you, you start to figure that out, number one. Then you start to figure out your own skill set. So now you start to actually figure out what do girls find attractive in me? What can I enhance? What can I get better? So maybe before you could only get a girl, I hate using numbers in order, but you could only get a girl that you consider unattractive. Okay. Whereas now you're getting girls that you can consider much more attractive. I think the problem here becomes, okay, two things. One is that guys aren't willing to see the spectrum of a relationship and they either think, okay, it has to be exclusive or it has to be like a one night stand or something like super casual. And I think these guys start to get in a problem where they get in a relationship and it's like, oh, damn, I still want to fuck around, but now I don't know what to do. I feel like I have to make this choice. So I think like having guys know that there can be spectrum there, you can have it open, you can negotiate this is super important. And then number two, something that I'm still trying to develop like a theory around this is there's something in math called, I think it's the secretary problem. And the problem is suggested, okay, you need to hire a secretary for your business, but every time you interview one, you have to make a decision right then and there. Do you keep them or not? And I think this is really interesting because it's very similar to dating. And so the math problem is like, what do you do? Like, how many people do you interview? Who do you choose? Like, how do you know what to do? And so basically, from memory, the math problem says take the total amount of people that you're willing to interview or that you have available, interview a third of them. And then after that, pick the next best out of the whole sample, next best person. And so what that would look like if you got 10 people to interview, you interview 3 of them. And then after those 3, you've got an idea of kind of what you like, what the sample's like, what the people are like out there. Then you say, okay, the next person I interview that is better than those three, I'm hiring. So if that's your fifth person, you're hiring them. And I think it's a really interesting like way mathematically to see dating, in which you can kind of think like, yo, if I want to settle down by this age and I kind of want a relationship by then, think about like the amount of girls you've kind of met before. And so in my case, yeah, I've slept with like, I don't know, over 500 women. I've met a bunch of like, I could at now this point think, okay, the next girl I meet that is better than all of those, I know mathematically that's going to be like the gem. That is like the chance of me meeting another girl like that in the future really low. So I think that's what guys can probably implement too. Like get enough experience that you have all these mentalities that we spoke about. You feel really grounded in yourself. You're coming from a place of abundance. You guys spoke about this. You've got the right mindsets. And then you can think, okay, this is the experience I've had. This is the type of girl I want. This is a relationship style that I want. And now I'm going to find that. And I think if you do that, then I think that's a really healthy place to come from. I'm curious what you guys think about it.
I like that. That's cool. That's kind of like how I see it. Gather the experience. Like you're unconsciously gathering so much of this as well. Like we pattern recognize over time, like what we like and what we respond to. And there's memories that will naturally stand out about the women that we particularly enjoy being around. And after a certain amount of trial and error, so to speak, yeah, you start to crystallize that a lot more and be a bit more discerning, right? And I know for myself now, because well, I've got a decent amount of experience now, and I'm going to continue to get more. I can just kind of go towards what I like, and if I've had like a date or whatever with a chick, and I'm not quite vibing with her so much, previous me was desperate to get experience, would have kept rolling with that, but now I can just kind of, let that be because I have some level of discernment now because I've unconsciously recognized these are sorts of traits that I like. This is what feels good to me. I'm gonna just orient towards this and pick this up. So I suppose that would be very much how I see it. And I'm actually really curious now about like what those traits look like for the rest of the guys here. Like if I was to say hypothetically what you'd really like in a partner, or what specific traits you really resonate with, what you find attractive. I'm going to put this to Keaton because I know he's in a relationship right now.
What are the things that I find attractive? If they're not a feminist, anything to do with
Okay,
feminist.
if that's it. If they're feminist, it's fucking
Nah,
over.
nah.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
No, and I'm making a joke about the whole thing about when Tinder chicks put feminism or something on their thing, I'm like, okay, that's an instant swipe off.
Fuck, I
Yeah.
got some stories about that, bro. Like
Yeah.
in London, and I mean, it's not so much of a thing here. I'm in Budapest, so like I haven't heard any of that. There's not many on the profiles, like whatever. I mean, I never really cared a whole lot about all that shit, dude. Honestly speaking, because I know what I want. I just go for what I want. But I do remember some like there was a particular date I had in London where we were chatting. I pulled her back to my place. We were drinking on the balcony, and then I think I said something like, "I like your feminine energy," and she said, "Okay, stop. Explain what you just said." And like she made me kind of like kind of like try to rationalize it. And she explained to me that's kind of sexist and shit like that. And then I kind of like played it off, and I saved myself. It was okay, and it was actually great times after that. But yeah, fuck, that's a whole box of frogs, man.
Yeah. For me, I think it's just that, like, again, that thing about being feminine. Like, if they're feminine, they're not trying to like, like they're not trying to like whip their dick out and show me, oh, my dick is bigger than yours, something like that. That's
Yeah.
always good. Submissive, understanding, like intelligent. Like, I mean, I really like intelligence and wit. If she just looks really hot, but there's no discussion there, there's no conversation there or something, that's just not, I'm not into it. Um, for me, it's my humor. Like, you guys know, my humor is like pretty insane. I have all kinds of racist, sexist, dark humor, sarcastic. It's like, it's crazy. So like a girl needs to know that all the shit that I say is just jokes. Um, that stuff. Like the girls that like it's easier to just be like the girls that I haven't gotten along with, which is exactly kind of what I mentioned. Like if they bring any kind of feminism kind of bullshit, I'm like, okay, this chick's kind of back, so that's out. There have been a lot of black girls that I hit on that within the first minute to 2 minutes brought up Black Lives Matter or something and racism or something like that. And I was
Okay.
like, okay, no, that's an out, that's an out. Um, it's like that. It's yeah, someone that you want to enjoy spending your time with, someone that respects. Oh, yo, I forgot about this completely. Yo, this is like the green flag, red flag thing. Yeah, if she has a good relationship with her family, her entire family, that's like a must, must, must. She has a really good relationship with her dad and preferably also with her brother, because then, the only masculine, whatever, influences in her life, she loves them, respects them, obeys them, kind of like, do you understand what I mean? Like at least she's is the exact opposite of, because when I say feminism, it's like I mean like the new age one, obviously the one that everybody hates. Because like it's saying like I'm a feminist is kind of is like saying like, oh, I'm against murder. Like, yeah, I'm against murder too. Any sane, rational person is against murder. Like everybody wants everybody to have equal rights, but the new age shit is the bullshit that everybody hates. Um, but yeah, the relationship with family and dad or the men in her life, that's a must. Because then that if you're going to be in the relationship with her, one, if you're going to start a family with her, she understands the core family values and principles. And two, generally in relationships, you kind of like dad the girl. So if she has a good relationship with her dad, then she's gonna have a good relationship with you as well, because to some extent it's kind of the same dynamic, like you're taking care of her. Um, yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, you asked me what are some of the things that I look for in a girl, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. Yeah.
All right, so basically the list is they cannot be feminist, they cannot be into like the hardcore fucking look, man, I get it. Look, I'm not super into all that. I just don't care. I'm trying to thrive in my life. I'm interested in the metrics that matter to me. I'm interested in improving um the impact I have in this world, the competence I have, the kind of like influence I have on other people, right? My friendships, the energy that I put out into the world. I want it to be really positive and I want it to actually make people feel right. And I believe in community. I know what my core values are, bringing people together and creating a tribe and pushing people to success. Yeah. So I just go towards what feels good to me. And a lot of these like really angry ideologies. Well, I don't know. Um, where there are some where there's emotional charge that I'm not really drawn to, it's just not a good fit, and I'm just gonna go where I'm happier, so I can be the best version of myself. But of course, there's people who are really really cool, who are very politically active, who I've known in my life, who are into all these sorts of things, and yeah, that's fine for them. They can do their thing. Um, Cam, I'd be curious to hear your take on this because back in the day, I think you were like, yeah, man, I like my party girls. I like my they need to be texting me minimum after midnight. Um, Booty calls are the best. What's your view today?
No, I like girls that would like message me at 5 a.m. Do you want to go to a festival this weekend? And then we just
Yeah,
like fuck. That happened like three girls in Australia, like the same exact archetype of girl who
yeah.
I guess would be out 5 nights. I don't know if Marcus has any experience with these girls, but I used to live in Chapel Street in Melbourne. And like just like all the girls I would date were like on the sesh, like 5 nights a week, like bartenders. Yeah, that was my best era, if I'm being honest, but it wasn't that healthy. So I've I basically recognized that there was something about those girls that like I did really attract to, but I can't obviously that's not great moving into like, building business and all that stuff. So I was kind of just trying to break down like what was it? And it was kind of like charisma, good social skills, like an ability to like, if you were having this girl, you were dating her and she could go out, like meet your friends effortlessly and they would all love her. Like she can handle herself, meeting new people, that kind of stuff. I really vibe with like that kind of stuff. Like a girl is just like socially smart and like, yeah, charisma is big for me. Like probably I'm not saying it's bigger than like physical attraction, but like nowadays I have to find a girl that has both like physically, she's physically good looking and also has a charisma about her, because I genuinely find like pretty girls who are like bland to like pretty girls without charisma, I find quite plain, like even if they are like objectively very good looking. So it's that kind of thing. But now I do need some stability. Like I just realized that recently, the last year or two, just the best relationship, and I'm ethically non-monogamous. So like I've been dating openly, and like I sort of partnered this year, but we didn't make it like, we didn't say we're partners, but like it was pretty close to that. And she was doing a pharmacy degree. And that kind of tracks across like some of my longest stable relationships have been like high-end medical professionals. Like my first girlfriend was a doctor, like recently qualified doctor. So yeah, it's quite a like a range across. But no, it was distilling what I like and then trying to compromise that to a girl that will actually like be sensible to date when I'm not going out and getting like buzzed all the time these days.
Yeah, bro, that was like your earlier, like mid-20s, something like that. Like the party era for me, bro. I'm 30. I'm gonna be 33 in July. Like I cannot be out like that anymore. I just can't do it. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even
Yeah.
appeal.
I mean, Australia is another level. I think the UK goes pretty hard, but like I do think Australia is kind of on another level. So just leaving Australia was like the way I got out of it. Just like I'm not going for like the night lifestyle anymore. I'm just gonna like, even in the UK you can live a boring life and get away with it. So you know what I mean. But I still go out in Vancouver. I still enjoy it. I still dip my
Mm.
toes in the water. And I always love night game above everything else, I think. So like I would like to meet girl. It is kind of a shame. Like I feel like it's harder to meet the girls that would be right for me now in night game. Maybe Scotty disagrees, maybe Marcus disagrees, but like I sort of like, I feel like it's a smarter play to go looking for girls in like areas where I don't know, there might be more of them. Like you fish in the right pond kind of thing. And you know, picking girls up at 2 a.m. from like my local bars and stuff like that doesn't locate them as easily. It's almost like getting lucky sometimes if I do that way.
Cam, do you do daytime stuff? Like, how are you mainly streaming girls this time now? Like, where are you going?
I'm not the biggest fan of day game. I know it's like a big confession. Like I prefer I like it from a perspective of the way Chris sold it to me, like Good Looking Loser back in the day, was if you're buying groceries and you see a girl, it's like having the ability to like just be like, okay, I can say hi and like get a number if possible. But I don't want to go out and Sarge, you know, and that kind of stuff nowadays. That's not really my thing. I was much more of a, I want to go to the bar, I want to go to the club or the bar or the rave because I want to be in that. I want to be there, and I'm also going to
Yeah.
talk to girls. That was always my directive. Now it's like social random bar and then like quite a bit of online. Online is, if you're building a business or stuff like that, I feel like the efficiency of online is like a big argument for like why it's like, especially if you're going through a patch of really hardcore work, there is an argument I feel for like, even if you don't like online, it's going to like guarantee you some dates when you really don't have a lot of time to put into dating. So like that's the argument I make to guys who are very busy. You can definitely have a good profile and like get like quite fast dates like set up for the 4 hour window that you do have. So that's my argument for that, for like busy people.
For
Yeah,
sure,
for
man.
sure.
I'm interested in this for Scotty. Characteristics about
I
girls
had a
that you
question
like.
for Marcus real quick. He was saying about his numbers game, what he thinks about it in terms of like five, and then maybe the fifth girl after a certain amount of time. Is that how are you dating a girl like exclusively, or what's your strategy and how do you feel about that? What is your situation now?
Yeah, it's not personally for me. I'm thinking more in terms of my students that come to me and are
Oh,
like,
okay.
yo, like my goal is to get a girlfriend, but I've been with like one girl before. What should I do? And so I was always trying to figure out like, what is that balance? Like how much of that fucking player phase do you need? How much experience do you actually need? Like, what are the metrics that we're deciding here? How do you actually decide like, okay, maybe they're being with X amount of girls. This next girl, they're like, oh, she seems really cool. Do you have the experience to actually know that? Do you have the experiences to back that up? So this is what I was trying to like look for resources in order to like determine this. For me myself, like, um, I'm pretty open usually with my relationships. So girls that I date, it's usually under very open context. So for me, it's not a matter of like, oh, is this girl the one? Because it's like, well, it's just like an open relationship. I'm still fucking around. So that being said, I'm always like, open-minded. I'm sure there's going to be one point where, you know, I want something like very serious. I'm sure like if there's a point that I have kids, it's probably going to like turn into something exclusive. But yeah, like for me, I'm not really concerned about that at the moment. It's not really too much I'm thinking about, but I do know that would be helpful. That like right now I have all that experience that I spoke about, probably more experience than I ever needed to know, okay, this next girl that comes along, I can tell you where she sits on that hierarchy. I can tell you if she's like top fucking 2% of girls will ever be with and meet and she's amazing, or I can tell you if it's like an average girl and it's fun and we can have something casual. So it helps me, I guess, determine where I would put my effort, or even right now where I do spend my time in like relationships. But yeah, in terms of like, I was thinking about it more from like a student context, if that makes sense.
Do you, Marcus, do you partner more seriously with the open stuff, or do you just always have like everyone's casual?
Yeah, obviously I have like levels to this. So it depends what you mean by serious. But I've had like girls in open relationships that have like met my family, come on holidays, like shit like that. So yeah, it's I would consider it serious, but it's just not exclusive typically.
Yeah, got it.
And as you see this, Marcus, right? Like the more experience you get, it feels like almost a double-edged sword. I would obviously much rather have that experience, but like it seems like the pool gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and then like because you're so easy to pick up on the things like where you know the certain cues that these girls are like, you know, fuck buddy only or girlfriend material type of thing. Like so you feel like, wow, this is like a lot because you're so acute to it. You're not just taking whoever and just like unsure with that experience and you know where the girl actually falls in the pecking order, right? So that's what I noticed for sure, that it's like
it becomes the like paradox of choice here a little bit, where yeah, you see guys, right, they marry like their high school sweetheart, and it kind of works sometimes because they don't know essentially what they're missing out on. Like there's no comparison. It's just, this is what I have. And so sometimes, like we know when we go to a restaurant, right? Sometimes it's nice when there's just like 3 things on the menu and you just pick one, right? Or it's like a set menu. And then some restaurants you get to and it's like 15 fucking pages and you're like scrolling through being like, what the fuck? I have to choose between all this shit. And then, you know, you order your thing and then someone else has ordered something different. You're like, fuck, that looks really good. Maybe I should have got that. So yeah, it does become like a little bit difficult, I agree. When you have all this experience, when you have all this choice, you're always thinking like, fuck, is there something else? Could I have something else? Is it better? That's why I really like the open, like
the something a little better idea thing is always in the back of my mind. When I started racking up big numbers, like I finally liked this girl and she really gave me no reason to like kind of like write her off. So she kind of just like kept showing up. And naturally she wasn't nagging. She had a lot of good things. And it was like, she kind of just by default became my girlfriend, never pressed me on labels, never was like, where are we? Or she was just thoroughly enjoying our time spent together, which I found like, wow, okay, this girl is kind of, I guess, my girlfriend. Like it felt so organically. It happened. And I was like, this is what's up, man. I was like, we never pushed it. We never did anything. And it was just really, you know, and because in the back of my brain, I'm like, I could do better. I could always find something a little bit better. And I was still fucking around, but the more time I spent with her and invested in her, you know, the less I would go out, the less I would meet girls. And I was kind of like becoming okay with that. But it was a very nice progression that, you know, happened. So it was cool, you know.
You hear from some people
interesting.
Go on, Marcus.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I just think it's an interesting conversation to have around, like when you think about exclusive relationships, I think specifically, I think there is a part of happiness that does require you to commit. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to be happy in a relationship, you can't be having these thoughts in an exclusive dynamic of, oh, what about someone else? What about, I think you just have to say, like, you come to that conclusion, like, look, same with the secretary problem. It's like, look, I've picked this person. I know they're better than all these others. I've done the process. I've done my work. Now, like, I've done my due diligence. Like, this girl meets all the criteria that I've met, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to commit to this. Like, yeah, there might be someone else, but that's fine. I can still be happy here. If I'm going to be 1% happier, do I really care? No. All right. I'm going to be happy in this dynamic. I'm going to commit to this. I mean, obviously, like, things change. If the girl ends up being a fucking psycho, you need to be able to like step away from that. But I think like I do think in that situation, happiness does require you to be like, fuck everything else. I'm committing to this now. So yeah, it's an interesting conversation to have, I think.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yep.
I kind of have like a story or two for. I'm in this Toronto pickup group. And these guys. So first of all, I mentioned this before. There's like 400 guys in the group, and I think maybe like 10 guys actually take action. Most of them are just reading theory and all that kind of stuff. And some of the guys that are taking action, and some of them that actually have girlfriends. So there's this brown guy who has a white girlfriend, and I only got to know him over some time or something, and he kind of mentioned something like the girl threatened to call cops on him or something for something like that. And I was like, dude, that's a really bad red flag. You do not want to get into that kind of stuff, especially in this country, especially with the color of your skin, blah 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 blah. And then over time, I found out it's actually that person that kind of threatened the girl with something really silly. But he didn't tell me that first, of course. He told me that I found that out after. And long story short, there's like a bunch of depth to it. But the thing is, the girl was kind of in the right or just like defensive because the guy kind of said something really dumb. And then you can kind of tell, right? Like if one person's calling or threatening to call the cops on the other, and the other person's saying something stupid or something, like clearly your relationship isn't good or happy or something like that. Clearly it's not. So then what was the point of doing all this pickup and this and all that kind of stuff to get this girl when you're clearly not happy with the one person that you have in your life right there next to you? Right? Because you're literally sleeping with one eye open because you can't trust the person that you're with.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, man. Like, but surely the answer to that is the idea is that you do this to get better and to create better outcomes. And look, for me personally, as I've like psychologically pattern recognized and also been so determined to this, right? The women who are dating were very attractive, right? Who are, they're decent in many ways, but then there were, whilst they didn't call the fucking cops on me, Kean, there were some things that I didn't like. Being late to dates, like just little things like that. Some not so pleasant experiences. Um, but I have the underlying skill set, so I can say, thanks, but no thanks, and continue moving. It does seem it would, I mean, I couldn't justify all the effort and all the fucking time and money I invested if I was to accept someone like who was treating me like that, right? Um, so I almost feel like I have really strong boundaries now, which you get through sincerely doing this work. Like cold approach again and again and again, and having to nail it and having to learn how to like properly vibe. You have some tough times out there, right? Those are kind of what build internal boundaries, ability to just be very, very resilient. Yeah, going through all the dates and getting fucked over, many, many times, which
Yeah.
all of us have had. All of us have had.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They,
And it's like you said, it's not fun at the start. It's not fun at the start. And at the start is when you let all these girls and all these people like walk all over you because you don't have the results.
yeah.
And then when I was doing the game phase at the start of last year, I guess now, I got laid only once that month when I was going out like every single day. But the
Mm.
reason I only got laid that once that month was because I literally ended like 5 or 6 dates, bringing the girls home, cold approach day game, pulling the girl home. And then I ended those dates. And, when I went to her place, because either she's on the phone, which was like, I didn't understand what that was. That was fucking weird. And that was a boundary to me. Like, this girl's not even here. Why am what's happening here? Ended the date right there, got her an Uber, sent her home. There was another girl that we met. I met her. I went to her place, and in the first 5 minutes, I called Scotty on the way back. You remember this one? In the first
Right. I
five
remember that.
minutes,
Yeah.
yeah, in the first 5 minutes, she said, "I hate men," or something like that. Men can't be trusted, or something like that. And like instead of
Damn.
getting into the details of the thing, I just like noped out of there. I'm like, no, I'm good. I just fucking left. You know what I mean? Like, but these things, I can say this right now at 34 after doing 1,500 plus approaches and all that shit. But if some new kid just came on who's still a virgin, who hasn't been on dates yet, who hasn't slept with a girl yet, he's he's not gonna know these things, and he's not gonna have again that abundance thing, and he's not gonna have those boundaries or anything. So there's like a sweet spot. Like, you know, when you start off at zero, you got nothing and you're gonna build all these things up. And then this doesn't have to be that much. This could be 4 or 5 girlfriends, lays or something. That's it. That's all this needs to be, could be. It doesn't need to be 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 plus lay count. Right? Because you can kind of tell within this much, is that enough or not? I mean, you know, did I learn enough and am I good enough? And can I have my own boundaries and such and just move on from there?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, man. Like thinking for myself, what is like enough? Like I'm not chasing lays and stuff like that, really. I'm chasing like positive experiences and like thoroughly enjoying like the experience of dating a girl and her adding value to my life, right? If the metrics that matter to me are going up, if I'm making more money, if I'm more happy and all those sorts of things, then that shows me that I'm getting what I'm looking for. And I know that. But like yeah, that's
There's a
interesting on
there's also a physical element to it as well, right? I mean, I think it's proven that these guys are, if you're not getting laid, like just physically, like it's you're more stressed out and shit like that. You're more agitated, restless, irritable. You know, you snap quicker at people, your temperament. Yeah, I mean, if you're having a healthy sex life, it's just at a physical level, it's like overall in a better state of mind when it comes to life. I tend to see things in a, you know, I'm a little more light and lively. I'm just like, I want to interact and socialize with people. So I don't know. I think it contributes both physically as well, you know.
I thoroughly agree with that, right? Brian, you chat to me every single day, and you know when I'm having these rampages when there's a whole lot of women going on. That's a very happy Ravi, isn't
I
it?
could,
And that's
yeah, man, I could
yeah.
hear it in your voice. Your whole body, your whole demeanor changes. The way you talk. It's like, it's so obvious when somebody's like feeling good about themselves, getting like good sex on the regular, is like it just changes your whole complexion.
Yeah, and why would we want like scarcity in any area of life? We've chosen to be successful. Everyone here has chosen to be successful in their life. Why would we accept scarcity and outcomes that we don't want? Of course we want love. Of course we want great friends. Of course we want to have impact and do positive things in the world. You don't have to accept mediocrity in any area. But the thing I'm like interested in, what kind of triggered me from listening to Keaton there, like yeah, dudes chase certain like lakeouts and stuff like that, and like that really isn't. You know, you get laid as you get better. It's a skill thing for me. I want to get really good socially and just thoroughly enjoy this journey. And you get, I mean, I have no issues with this now, but like yeah, I'm curious to hear that you guys take on the importance of how many lays that we have. Is it a point of like sheer diminishing returns after a certain amount of time? Ca- Cam, I'm going to put this to you. What do you think about this question? Like, should we be chasing higher lay counts, or is it not necessarily got a whole lot of utility?
I mean, it depends on what you want. That's like what I'm parroting Andy right now, but what do you want, Ravi? Like that's the thing. Like because there are plenty of guys who like want the 100 lay count, they want the 200. I don't know whatever the number they want, and if they really want that, then go for it. It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna harm them. I don't think that it necessarily needs to be what everyone is aiming at though, and you can have a lot of success in this without having to aim for high lay counts. I think it's put on a pedestal a little bit. I would say that though, like especially 100 is put on a pedestal for some reason.
Oh
And I know it's
yeah.
just it's just like a number, whatever. And it's definitely, but you see guys celebrating hitting it like on the
Oh yeah.
forums like all the
Oh yeah,
time.
yeah. I see it.
And
I
that's like a
see it.
big deal. And like it's kind of like a drag. Sometimes you get dragged into following a thread when someone gets really close, and they're like they post their century or whatever. And it's one of those things that will never not be in the community. Like, you know, but I don't really, I'm not a big fan of the whole dick swinging contests between guys who are like, this number means I can say this and this, you know,
Yeah,
that's
I
kind of
don't care.
whatever.
Yeah,
There is
I
a
agree with
degree of
that.
like, there's a degree of like, I'm not going to listen to someone who's below a certain amount of experience, but at the same time, the number doesn't mean anything. So it's kind of, it's kind of one of that and one of the other because I'm going to struggle to take someone's opinion who's got like only been with like 12 girls and has only been doing this for like 6 months. But that's fair enough. That's just like they just don't have the experience that I think they have anything worth saying to someone who's ahead of them. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it is what it is.
Yeah, because the issues always overlap a little bit too. Like there's always a bigger element at stake. You know, I had this mistake when I first started coaching people. You know, you tend to think that it's like these aren't just human beings. Like you could affect them in a lot of different ways. It's not the only, they may be there because they want to get more girls or have more girlfriends, whatever their specific goal is. But at the end of the day, you know, my message may not resonate with this guy. You know, I have no idea. Like it just may not click. You may be like, oh, yo, but I got you what you wanted. You know, you pulled when you were on working with me and stuff like that. But yet he's unsatisfied because maybe there's a bigger underlining issue to all of this anyway. Like your overall sense of peace. Maybe you think that that's going to bring you peace, but that's your issue, kind of like you know, in disguise. It's not really, you know, the whole picture. And I tend to get caught up on just like, yo, I got you your goal, or you hit your yard mark or whatever, and yet you're still unsatisfied. So I think a lot of these things are just, there's a lot of underlining bigger issues at stake here. And so we expect the world out of these coaches or whatever, and we pay them money and stuff, and it's like, you know, because you're unsure of what the issue may be. If you are crystal clear with the situation, like if I think it will bring me some level of fulfillment, but it's not the end all be all, you know, it'll meet your expectations. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I agree. I actually think recently, like, and then I mentioned, Ravi's mentioned Andy, I'm mentioning Andy, whatever. But like, I think he's reached the point now where if someone comes into the coaching with us, if during that coaching they can figure out what they truly want, they'll think that justifies the entire coaching. Because the question of what does a guy actually want is super important, especially to guys, especially in the self-improvement community. There's a lot. I think there's a lot of guys moving forward without actually a really clear idea of what they really actually want. So going through the journey itself of figuring that out is of huge value, and it's something as anyone who's coaching should be aware of, that like you may not actually be hearing what when a guy says to you what he wants, you can act on it, but you may not actually be hearing what they really want, or they may not even know it themselves. So there is a journey like sideways on the side from just what they're pitching to you as like what they actually want from you.
Look how many branches of self-improvement there actually is, right? So there's something at the root of all of these different things, whether I want to, you know, a bigger dick, if I want to fucking, you know, get bigger biceps, if I want that, like there's so many different things of self-improvement, whether I want to pick up more girls, it's like an endless, it's just endless in terms of like what you really want out there. So I think at the root of it, there is a common denominator, I think, amongst most people who are interested in self-improvement. And I think I used to overlook that. Now I take that into context when I'm actually working with people more, you know? But yeah, go ahead, Marcus.
I don't want to butt in, but I'm going to have to take a leave. I got to take this guy for a walk and stuff.
All right,
enjoy.
Nice meeting you guys.
Peace. Later,
Have a good one.
Take care, G.
Yeah.
Sorry, what does Marcus want to say on this?
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to add to that. In terms of like a league count as experience, I think we need to look deeper into. I like what you guys are saying. Like the guys need to figure out what they want, right? I think guys need to think about. I don't know how to count this though. Like relationship count. I don't know, but like they need experience with goals in a longer term format. Because you can have a student, by the way, that can be really good at one night stands. Okay, he can be really, really good at going out there, building attraction, pulling, dealing with those objections, fucking the goal, bam, like really good at that. But then you have some of these guys that are fucking shit at retention. They hold off their neediness for that first like 2 hours. Then they close the goal. They're lying in bed, hugging her, telling her how much they love her and they want to see her again. Maybe not that extreme, but even just like, hey, when can we meet again? And they tend to lose all the characteristics that they built for this one night pull. And then after that, the bad traits start to expose themselves, or they just have no idea. Like, what do I do when I'm not out of the club with the girl and I'm sitting there on a date, or I'm sitting there at home? Like, how do I manage the conversation now? And so I think guys need experience in that relationship dynamic. It doesn't have to be a relationship, but even if you're just having like a fuck buddy long term, because now you have to deal with situations like, okay, what do I do when I'm hanging out with this girl and now she's being like somewhat disrespectful? In the club, it's chill, whatever, you're just pulling and fucking, but there's a lot of skills and there's a lot of mindsets and everything you need to learn that come with like a longer dynamic. So I think understanding that from an experiential point of view is super important. So the guys with 100 lead count, often I ask like, what's your retention like? How many goals are you seeing? How many goals have you had in like a serious dynamic? Because if it's just 100 one night stands, yeah, you probably aren't ready or suited for a relationship or something long term. You need to build up that experience.
Yeah, but in order to get into it, you need to start somewhere, right? I mean,
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Like I think leg count is important. I don't think jerking off over leg count is important, as you guys said. Like I got 100. Everyone like, fuck yeah, da, da, da. Like, who cares? Like, congratulations. Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I'm thinking about is like, what skills have you learned from this? Like, what are you actually applying? We spoke about J-Mov before, right? He's been with, I don't know, 10 million women or some shit. And it's
Something
like,
like
I
that.
asked him, what skills have you learned from this? Like, your next lay, what are you learning? Like, to me, it feels like some cope/addiction. I haven't spoken to him in a while and whatever, but like back then it felt that way. And it just felt like, okay, I need this like next little external validation boost because something's missing from the inside. And so my question is, okay, like, what are you actually learning from these? Like, that's the important part. So yeah, I mean, maybe you can have a guy that sleeps with only 5 girls and learns quite a lot. I still think you need more than that. I think you do need more experience. There's going to be balance there, and there's going to be like a diminishing return. But yeah, if you're just purely thinking, okay, next day, it's like, yo, what skills haven't I learned yet? I'm getting really good at fucking girls on the first night. What skills am I missing? Okay, maybe it is those skills of retention. Maybe it is those skills of having a girl in a longer dynamic. Maybe it is the skills of like setting the right frames. Maybe it is the skills like, how do I introduce girls to my guy friends? Like, how do I manage this dynamic? And so, yeah, I think it's like with anything else we're doing in life, right? You get really good at one thing and then you ask yourself, okay, like, what is the area now that I'm going to have the biggest return on my investment? It's probably not that thing you're really good at, right? It's probably the thing that you're struggling with. So I think learning to like shift your priorities and what you want to get good at, and being an overall very well-rounded person that is suited for a longer term relationship dynamic, whatever the hell you want to call it, I think is like super important.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. And
so in a
this,
way, they kind of bleed into each other at some point. That's what I took from that. I mean, like they ultimately the experience is needed, and I think just by merely being around that many women and knowing how to move your way around a woman and just even if it's one night, 2 nights, you're with this girl a week, it's just yeah, you're going to be in uncharted waters and you're still going to be learning, but I think that kind of opens the door for something more because you know just from the sheer experience and being around that many women like all the time, it's like you're bound to step into something a little bit more serious. And that's kind of what happened to me, man. I didn't have a goal written down that I wanted a girlfriend. I kind of just stumbled upon it, like just by default of just sleeping with a lot of different girls and being around a lot of different girls. And she kind of just took that role and gave me, and I was very keen to seeing the things that, that I value in a girl. And it was like, she's basically becoming my girlfriend by default. She didn't press me or anything, and it was just a very organic thing.
Yeah, I think guys can probably be like, if I had a shoot, and the way I'm thinking about this is I'd be more deliberate about it, for example. So for you, like you went through that process, same with me, right? Like I went through that process of I never thought back when I was like learning game and getting really good at it, I never thought, okay, now is the time I need to learn about my relationship dynamics. Like for me, I was the same. I was fucking a lot. Finally got to that point. And then I was like, these girls are really cool. I want to see them again. And then I was like, fuck, they don't want to see me. What am I doing wrong? Right. I try to figure that out. But I think for a lot of guys, like, if they are coming at like very deliberate and they are learning game, then I think it is good to deliberately think, okay, I do need to practice retention. This girl, she was cool. It was a fun one night. But hey, maybe I'll try set up a dynamic where we're like fuck buddies and I can learn a little bit more about seeing girls multiple times. And then like when you come across that girl, you're like, damn, this girl's fire. Like, this is someone I really want to hang out with a lot more. Then it's like, okay, how do I manage that? Because the first time that happens, what do guys do, right? They get way too needy. They fucking like scare the girl away, blah, blah. So it's like, how do I learn to manage this next time? And I think guys can be like very deliberate about that. I know for us, it probably, well, depending who, but like I can talk for myself, it wasn't like that. It was kind of like I learned it as I went. But yeah, I think there's no reason guys can't be deliberate about their experience in longer term dynamics.
And it's always nice to feel like even if you fail miserably or you start to come off as really needy, you start to really like her. I think a lot of that stuff goes down anyway just by being with a lot of girls. You just don't give off that thirsty vibe a lot because you're getting sex regularly. You built up enough confidence and skills to be able to, get it when you want to get it. So it's like, I think that comes off on the girl that you may potentially see more green flags in, because
I mean, I'd kind of agree with this. I think this might be the case for you, right? But I think there's a lot of guys that come with this baggage, or they don't know what they want, or they're not really solid. I agree. There's a lot of you get a lot of experience with women. There's so many things you can improve in and will improve in, like by default. But yeah, I've definitely seen guys with like this really anxious, like needy attachment, and they can like fuck you on the first night. But then they're messaging me and they're like, dude, this girl won't respond. It's been like 3 minutes. Oh my God. Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, what the fuck? You've been like 50 women. Why are you so worried about this one girl? But they're like that with so many of their women. And it's like, okay, we need to take a step back. Like with Jamov, right? Like you can sleep with fucking, I don't know how many women, and there's certain skills and certain like mindsets you're just not improving and just not, and like I think those things you need to be active about. And look, for the most part, most guys, I agree with you, right? Most guys, you get that much experience with women, you're gonna fix most shit, you're gonna be completely fine, you're not gonna be, but some guys, damn, some guys, it's like in here, bro, and
Yeah.
they need to work through that and go through a certain process.
If
And I
anything,
think just sleeping with a lot of girls doesn't fix it for them,
That's
I think I
great.
agree with you on this one a little bit because, like, if anything, some guys are training the wrong neural pathways as well. Like what you said, like they'll get into it, they'll do something so many times, and they were doing something that's like going to come back on them when it comes to like retention. And if you've done that 75 times, it's actually harder to like unlearn that than it is to if you got someone who's only had like 5 lays. You could probably like he's not going to learn bad habits in the way that that guy who's actually like fucked up 70 you're not fucked up, but he's done this thing repeatedly for like several years. I think that's an interesting point from a coaching perspective. Just like, is it easier to maybe train someone who's like fresher to everything than it is to someone who's just got loads of bad habits from years of doing it wrong?
Gents, I'm gonna like I want to synthesize everything we've talked about, and I'm gonna ask the last question before we kind of close up. And it's about like aspirations, yeah, in this journey for men, for women. It's about when we know we've made it, or as we used to say in GLR, the golden era. Okay. What do I mean by the golden era? The time where you've came to the moment in your journey where you've really found what you seek, where your approach is you can see the marked improvement you've made. Your date game, you can see the incredible connection that you're now having. The retention is there. Like the whole universe is opened up to you. We call this the golden era. It's when you know in your heart of hearts, yeah, I've arrived now. Look at all this. Look how far I've come. I've seen people, and it's kind of ties in with what you were showing there, Marcus. I've seen people come to this in different ways. I've seen guys get a lot of action and then go very deep into inner work, like masculine retreats, like semen retention, journaling and shadow work. And they really found their power and their alignment. And they're really rock solid with women at that point. And they sort of fixed what was really in their core. And these people can then kind of say, well, I don't really have these issues anymore. The way women respond to me, the kind of dynamics I've got, I've made it. This is great. But some of these men had to toil for years to get there, years. And there's no guarantee that you can get your golden era, right? So, in my opinion, and what I'm doing, I'm going to get there. I'm going to keep going until I know in my heart of hearts, because it just caused me so much pain in my previous life where this was a problem for me. And I need to know that I've become truly, truly successful in this area because people look to me as an example now in a small part of the internet. They do. There's thousands of people who read my log and they gain some sort of motivation from that. So it's a question of meaning now. And I've got my strong why. But I'm going to put it to the panel. Do you think this is something that all men should aspire to? Or if not, why not? Don't speak all at once, gentlemen. Marcus, over to you.
I mean, I can go for it. Yes and no. I think it's really nice with anything that you're learning, any skill that you have, any goal in like to have that thing that you're working towards, to have that goal of, look, this is what I want, and have a real clear vision of that. It's going to be different. We spoke about this. It's going to be different for different guys. So it might be the fucking 100 leg count. It might be the girlfriend. It might be the kids. And I think like having that goal to look forward to, or that like golden space, or however you want to describe it, is really important. I think it's really motivating. And then you can like break those goals down and get there. I think something guys need to ask themselves, and I forget who mentioned this earlier on in the call, but like about your why. Like, why do you actually have that goal? Why do you want to get there? Because if it's 100 leg count, it sounds pretty superficial. But if they say, no, I feel like at 100, I'll develop all the skills I need to be good with women. I feel like I'll have all that experience. I feel like I'll know the type of girl that I want. I feel like I'll be ready to set. Well, that all sounds like really healthy, manageable goals at this point. So I think like asking yourself why is super important. But the reason I said yes and no is I also would caution people to enjoy the journey as you go through, because we see this with business a lot. Like, I want to make $1 million a year. And then there's guys that start making $1 million a year. They're like, I don't really feel any different, right? I don't feel like I've made it. I don't feel like it's that happiness that I was like looking for. So I think that whole idea of, if you see game just as this lifelong journey, and each step of the way, you're getting a little bit better at it. Your interactions with women are getting better. You're making more male friends along the way. You're developing who you are as a person. You're understanding yourself on a much deeper level. That you just enjoy the journey, enjoy the whole process. Now, you might get to a point in that process where you're like, fuck, I've made it. Okay. This is what I feel like I've always wanted. This is where I'm at. This is what, damn, that's awesome. Like, enjoy that. Fuck yeah. But I wouldn't want guys to be hating the experience and seeing this as like a chore the whole way through, and being like, I fucking hate clubs. Okay. I can't stand it. You're going to burn out so quickly. This is a lifelong thing. Always get better with women, always get better understanding yourself. And so yeah, I think yes and no. I think it's good, but just be cautious.
Yeah, man, I echo those. That was well said,
Cam,
Marcus. I mean, go ahead, Cam. Go ahead.
I will give Scotty the last word. Yeah. I echo what Marcus said. I think Scotty's going to say something similar. It's just like, it's one of those ones where I think going on the journey is worth for a bit of self-discovery. I think I said at the beginning of the call somewhere that like the experimental phase, I'd probably recommend to everybody, but not necessarily in like a go as hard as the guys in the community go, but like just in a, having a period of self-discovery in your life is important. And that but there are things you can do in that to figure out, what you actually want, what your why is, your purpose. I do tend to tell guys in their 20s not to worry too much about their purpose, but like figuring out what they want, I think still is important. So like if it's like purpose, like the general advice I've kind of stuck to is that like that's like kind of maybe a little bit later in life, but certainly self-improvement and figuring out what you want in your 20s is worth finding out. So if you need to go the experimentation, if you want to go super hard, go for it. But you don't have to do it. It's not like something we're going to prescribe to everybody that they go hardcore into like this dating stuff. It's only for the guys who actually like really want it, and then they go into the journey and decide once they get like into the pain periods of this stuff and that kind of thing. Like I think you're very familiar with it, Ravi, in terms of like the grinding middle sections. If at that point you figure out, I really love this and I love the things I'm doing still, even though it is difficult, that's the guy who, 100% fucking go for it until you hit the golden era, because you clearly are committed and all in with this journey. So yeah, at least experiment with it would be my advice.
Yeah, man. And I think one thing that I would include there is that it's important. It sounds like this grind thing, and that if it's miserable and everything like that, just you gotta really know where you are. And that's where I think a good mentor comes in, or a good support system, where like if you're so emotionally invested in something, like it's easy for someone on the outside without all that emotion to be able to like help you out a little bit and guide you along the way. But like even when it comes to, I've always been a big believer in just having a mentor or a coach ever since I was a young kid, like bodybuilding, whatever. But even like when it comes to retention, I'm not ashamed to be like, all right, maybe I need a little help in this area. There's always room for improvement, man. And I think having a really solid mentor when it comes to certain things that are not your strengths or whatever, and I think is extremely beneficial. But I also want to mention like this whole niche maxing type of thing. It's you have to like really come to, don't just go to clubs if you fucking hate them and stuff and you just don't feel like you're just doing it to do it type of thing. You have to really find a good scene that you really thoroughly enjoy, that you naturally become less attached to the outcome, which is the goal really. Like when you go out, just to be like, you're responsible for the effort but not the outcome. So like you know, when you go out, you know, if you really got to find your hunting grounds, and like we're territorial, right? So like if you know, like enjoying walking around Soho or something like that, and going shopping, and you know, having some coffee at your favorite coffee shop, go to these places, get very comfortable there, like where you know, you immerse yourself in that whole environment, that whole scene, like get to know people who go there on a regular basis, and you know, make it like your home. And therefore the women at that point become just like the icing on the cake at that point. Like they could sense it, you can sense it. Like when you could tell sometimes if you're not comfortable. Like recently I had the guy bring me to an all Korean nightclub, right? Dude, I was like, I was invisible, man. I mean, it was definitely uncomfortable at the beginning, and it was like I just felt like I didn't belong. And it was like so I think that's key, man. People, they're going out with like what Marcus said, with that what you call, like very deliberately, you know, they're deliberately, you know, it's good to be make things crystal clear on like what you like and don't like, and certain venues, and you know, certain women that you may be targeting, or certain women that you may be attracted to, like figure out where they like to go and stuff like that. I think all that stuff gets overlooked, but I think it's very good to make that clear, and possibly with a mentor, so that you're not just doing something because someone else says to do something. You need to do night game, you need to do day game. Like I think it's more nuanced than that. You have to get a little bit more specific on things like that. So the clearer you are with certain things, like go for it, man. Or else it leaves a lot of people like just floundering around, and they really have no like identity. We love to identify with something, right? As human beings, I feel like we love to identify with something. So you know, a quick example is when like I was really into like Trinidadian women at one point. I was dating one, and I was like, wow, I never dated some girl this sexual, this feminine. I was like, I was so into it. So I just, you know, I did a lot of research, and I immersed myself in like their culture. And I went to like certain nightclubs, got in with promoters, and I was just immersed myself in that whole entire scene. Next thing you know, I was rolling up to these clubs with like 5 really hot Trinidadian girls cutting the lines and stuff like that. And I just built that because I had a yearning to be with these type of women and just be around target these women. So I don't know. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but yeah, I think that type of stuff needs to be emphasized, especially for somebody starting out. They may not necessarily know. I didn't necessarily know. That's why Cam mentioned experimenting. It's obviously a big part of the puzzle. You know, you have to experiment a little bit, dabble in a lot of different things, and just, you know, be willing to kind of settle down into one spot.
For
That would
sure,
be my
bro.
take.
Enjoy the process. Come from abundance, because life is abundant. There's enough out there for us all to get it. And with that, guys, that's another episode of The Killer Instinct. So thank you all for coming on today. It was a great conversation with you all, man. Everyone's socials are going to be put below, and we're going to be back next month, joined with another guest. But for now, bros, peace out. Looking forward to catching up with you guys soon.
Peace.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having us on, bro.